Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me again, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no to little shame in his game because he's always the same.
Let me tell you something, people. That is me. And I just want to tell you something that just happened just for this podcast today. People don't realize what a jerk TJ is for the most part.
That's right.
You know what? He lives in the central time zone. I live in the eastern time zone. I was finishing up my dinner, had a little frozen pizza, one of those little mini pizzas, and I was eating it. And TJ was had a little hissy fit because I wasn't done by 7 o'clock. How many times, fans, has TJ been late starting this podcast? Anytime we're late, it's because TJ. He's the one who runs the podcast. He was late. Or how about this? How about 2 weeks ago, TJ was swallowing cookies, double fisting it during the podcast, right? I didn't say anything, right? But here I am. I'm getting cussed out. I mean, cussed out for finishing my dinner.
Grumpy, I want you to be on time and ready,
Why didn't you eat before the podcast started? Well, I was working. And I had to cook my food. And I don't like to burn the top of my mouth. So, that's his thing. TJ swallows his food whole. Animals, whole. Doesn't cook them, just eats them. Cats, dogs, anything. He doesn't care. But you know something? I like to savor my food. But here's the thing. I'm ready to do my job. Let's hope TJ doesn't mess up tonight like he usually does. Go, TJ.
My question is this for you, grumpy old man.
Cookie
Is that a feeble attempt to be grumpy or to redirect your natural and innate grumpy attitude, grumpy old man, because the Islanders are on a 9-game point streak and on a 6-game winning streak? Is that you just trying to redirect something to be angry and curmudgeoned about? Because that's kind of what it seems like to me. It seems like I need something new to be all angry and upset about. The Islanders are doing too well right now. TJ, you wanted me to be on time to the podcast. I got to be angry at you. Is that what that is?
So is that what you think?
No, that was my question. Genuine question. Is that what that is?
That's why we don't let you do the thinking on this podcast, okay? You just do your job, which is to make sure the grumpy old man can get out there to the masses. That's what you're here to do.
Oh, yes. How do I forget grumpy old man? Before we get started, though, I do want to go ahead and read from our sponsor, DraftKings. It's that time of the year. Bubble teams are making their final push there for a bid, and top seeds are preparing for what they hope is a long run. And DraftKings is giving all the customers a free shot at up to $100,000 in total prizes. All you have to do is head to the DraftKings app and make your pick. Download the DraftKings app and head there for their free-to-play pools page and enter DraftKings $100,000 tournament seeding pool. Free-to-play pools are easy to play. All you have to do is make your picks, and you'll think that you might have your ticket into March's biggest tournament. If you have the most correct answers, you win. The bank is open. Plus, don't forget about golf, the 5th major this weekend, taking place in Florida, where DraftKings will earn, where you have money to earn up there. There's DraftKings. Ooh, getting tongue-tied. DraftKings is a safe and secure and reliable place that you can also deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. And download the DraftKings app now and use the promo code THPN to get a free shot to share at the $100,000 in total prizes of the DraftKings tournament seeding pool. Use the promo code again, THPN, to get a free shot at the $100,000 in prizes. Only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply, and see DraftKings.com for details. Grumpy old man. Well,
wow, butchered the advertisement.
Yeah, you know what it is.
The grumpy old man. Butchering the advertisement. Let's see if you could pull anything off today. I'm interested.
You know what it is, Grump? You know what it is? It's I have to deal with you on a consistent basis, grumpy old man. That's what it is. That's what it is. I promise you.
Whatever. You could try to deflect your incompetence as to somehow be my fault, but that's fine.
Grump, you know what we should do? We should try to let you run everything as the reading the ad reads and handle everything like that. That's what I think we should switch roles there. And I could be the old grumpy man. You have to change my name. I could be called the young grumpy man.
No,
and I could just get upset about everything.
No. It would be the angry young man. It's a Billy Joel song. You probably don't know who Billy Joel is.
I know who Billy Joel is. I've never heard of the song, though.
No.
Oh, gotcha.
Like I said, you better start educating yourself.
Well, I want to know. Well, before we get started on hockey talk, Who are you? Well, I didn't know they had a free tournament bubble to pick out of the DraftKings. Makes it worth signing up. I mean, who are you picking to win it all, Grumpy?
I have no idea. I haven't paid any attention at all to college basketball this year. It looks silly and stupid on television. College basketball for me anyway is about the fans, the kids, the excitement. I haven't watched one game this year, not one. So I don't know. I know that Gonzaga is undefeated, so maybe they'll win the whole thing. I don't know.
Michigan's played well, so was Iowa. There's been a lot of teams that are playing well so far this year, Grumpy old man. I know it's right around the conference tournament time period has already kicked off. I don't know who I'm going to put down there to win. I mean, it's always fun to kind of go ahead and throw your hand in the pool. Gives me a reason to watch the games.
It's throw your hat in the ring, not throw your hand in the pool. I don't know what that's even about. It's throw your hat in the ring. Again, yet another. That's over 3 for TJ. Let's see how many more blunders he can make up today.
It's 0 for 3. Let's go ahead and think, Grump. How are your takes doing right now on the New York Islanders? Right now, sitting on a 9-game point streak, 6-game winning streak, and getting some offensive production. We're doing exactly what we need to do. Speaking about bad takes here, Grump, how about Average Andrews?
Hold on.
Average Andrews had another hell of a game, Grump, against the Boston Bruins.
He didn't do anything yesterday. He did nothing yesterday. Nothing.
Really?
Nothing. He was his typical average self. He did make a nice pass to Jordan Eberle, and my gosh, Jordan Eberle looks like I did trying to finish that shot off. I remember watching, like, oh, goal, and I'm like, what? He didn't even put it on net. That was a bad one. As a matter of fact, he looked like Josh Bailey trying to put the puck on net, so probably just tried to pass out. But I will say, my boy Croc, the last 3 goals that he scored have been absolute snipes, the last 3. So maybe he's starting to pick his game up. I think because Bavillier's out there helping out. Certainly not because the king of the secondary assist is out there, who has no points recently. It's funny. He has 13 points on the year. You know that, right? We played how many games? 25 or 26? 26, I believe. And he scored 5 within a 3-game span, back to back to back. So he has 8 points in 23 games, besides those 3 lucky ones.
Oh, besides those 3 lucky ones. Oh, Grump. David P. saying, TJ, you're going to be a healthy scratch for next show. Well, it sounds like Grumpy just might not get the podcast invite now, all kidding aside. You said Anders Lee did nothing. I want to get back to the point. You said Anders Lee did nothing yesterday. I
don't think he stood out yesterday. No, I don't think he stood out.
Okay. You say he does nothing. Hold on. You say he does nothing, and then in the same breath, you say he makes an absolutely excellent feed to Jordan Eberle, who completely whiffs on the shot. I mean, that was a great job by him. He fakes the shot, he draws the defender, executes the pass to where it is a wide open net. Goalie completely bites that Anders Lee's taking that shot. And Jordan Eberle misses. Okay, that's not doing anything. If Jordan Eberle hits that shot, which he should, he's paid to hit that type of shot. I mean, that shows up on the assist in the score sheet there for Anders Lee. Okay,
it didn't, though. And the pass was not perfect. It was a little bit ahead of him. I think he still should have set himself up and scored on that, but he didn't. So there's no point for Anders Lee. I mean, here's the thing. I don't think he stood out yesterday. I thought yesterday's game was a real slog. Playing Boston's going to be like that. Both teams are very defensive oriented, don't score a whole lot of goals, and that's what you get. I mean, Boston had some chances yesterday, and they just kind of missed the net or whatever. They have some injuries. I'm still worried about Boston. I know we've beaten them 4 times in a row, but all 4 games have been home games. The next 4 we play them are going to be up in Boston, and I have to assume they're going to let some fans in there at some point in time. So it'll be interesting how it plays out the rest of the year. I'm happy that we won yesterday. Unfortunately, they got the one loser point.
Again, I thought the game was going to overtime no matter what. We had beaten them 3 straight games, all in regulation. I really thought we were going to lose when it's in overtime. We have not done very well in overtime this year. I mean, we have that steadfast Barry Trotz. Again, Barry Trotz is a great coach. He has that steadfast love to throw people out there in overtime who just are not great skaters. I mean, again, I like Anders Lee. I think the contract long-term won't be good. I like Anders Lee. I like him as a captain, like everything he embodies about the Islanders. But man, oh man, the guy is not an above-average skater. and he gets in my opinion, way too much ice time there in overtime. Overtime is about, and 3-on-3 hockey is about having as much speed out there on the ice as possible. When I see Barry rolling at guys like Anders Lee who can't really skate, just kind of left, oh God, would really hate for our defense to get caught up ice or anything like that in a transition game where he's, the last guy back.
And he tends to make bad passes from bad spots when he's pressured because that's not his game. That's why his name is average. He does one thing above average, everything else below average. So
this seems like you're conceding ground. Just a few podcasts ago, you asked me what he did above average, and I told you it was stand in front of the net, win the dirty areas, redirect pucks, and win the puck along the boards. And you were refusing to concede that. So now you're saying he's above average in certain areas. Well, I'm glad to see, even with that Freudian slip, that you do agree that he is definitely above average in certain areas, Grump.
I don't think he wins a whole lot of battles along the boards. The only thing he does well is he's able to stand in front of the net without getting knocked over most of the time. That's his strength. So you know what? They could put a totem pole in the center of the ice, and it could be Anders Lee. Just bang it off of that and have deflections go in the net. That's what he's like.
He's an interesting.
He's like a monolith from 2001 Space Odyssey, just right there in front of the net. Bounce things, bounce off it, go into the net. That's what he does.
Okay, well, I guess it has changed, but I saw an interesting stat that somebody had popped up about Anders Lee production, and they were comparing it to Connor McDavid. I think I'm talking about the goal production, and I did find it a little funny that with that, I mean he's been putting up some points and he's been scoring quite a few goals as of late. He's not that far off of the goal total of Connor McDavid, Grump. I mean, for that,
what's the goal total? What's the goal total
for who?
For both of them. I mean, you make a thing like that. I mean, come on.
Connor McDavid right now, as of the time we are recording this, 7:16 Eastern Standard Time. Connor McDavid 15 goals, Anders Lee 12.
And how many assists does Connor McDavid have?
I wasn't talking about how many assists. I wasn't talking about points. I'm talking about goal totals. I literally said the goal totals. They were making a comparison on goal totals. And, when you think about it like that, hey, the best player in the league, man, Anders Lee's only 3 goals off the best players in the league. It's just one of those things that kind of leaves you like, oh, wow, maybe he has done a lot better than a lot of people would give him credit there for. It puts it in perspective like, man, that hot streak, he's really been hot.
Okay. Whoever said that is a moron. Okay, it's like someone trying to make a comparison between Anders Lee and Patrick Kane. The same type of thing. It's just so stupid that it doesn't even deserve a response, honestly. You heard, if I had any food from my dinner left in my mouth, I would have spit it all over the camera because it's just so ridiculous. Again, would anyone ever consider put those two guys in the same sentence besides they play hockey in the NHL? That's about the extent of the comparison.
The comparison was how close Anders Lee actually is to the goal total of Connor McDavid. People forget that. 12 goals is, you're right on the tail of the best player in the NHL when it comes to that. The thing is, it just put things in perspective, in my opinion. It wasn't going away from that little post saying, oh, wow, Anders Lee's just as good as Connor McDavid. That's not what that was. The intention of the post, Grump, which you got no social media for, you made a knee-jerk reaction. It's just saying that the goal totals aren't that much different. And the thing is, I hadn't really thought too much of it. I haven't been looking at, who's leading the league in goals or anything like that as of recent. But, when Anders Lee did get hot, he's only 3 goals right now behind Connor McDavid.
Is Connor McDavid leading the league in goals?
I have no earthly idea.
So there could be somebody else who's got more goals than that.
I'm just saying Connor McDavid's the best player in hockey. So I just thought it was interesting. It just put things in perspective there for average. It just put things in perspective there for average Anders when it comes to goal totals so far this year.
Okay, but you're trying to perpetuate the myth. You say, well, he's the best player in hockey, and he's this much behind. There is no comparison between the two in any way, shape, or form. None. Absolutely zero. I think Connor McDavid has something like 43 points already. I mean, compared to what, 16 for average? So that's like almost 3 times as many points. I mean,
18 for average. But listen, I'm not trying to compare their game. I'm just saying it put things in perspective. I had no idea he was only 3 goals off of Connor McDavid. Remember, Connor McDavid, okay, I'm not trying to perpetuate it. Connor McDavid is the best player in hockey.
That's right.
Maybe he is. I'm just saying, to be only 3 goals right now, midway through the season off the best player in hockey, You know what? You could be doing a lot worse as an individual on the ice.
You have me absolutely interested in finding out who the league goal scorer is in the league right now.
Well, listen to me. You don't need to look that up. I'll look it up and pull it for you. You don't have to worry about that there, dinosaur. I will handle all of that for you, and I will provide the information for you, okay?
That's what I want to make sure you do, because you know what? I'm going to tell you what. You drop those ridiculous little nuggets, and then you walk away. You know, I mean, you try to start a firestorm over here. I can't even believe you mentioned them in the same breath, honestly. There is no comparison. Matter of fact, there's no comparison to, I want to say, I don't know, 2 or 3 dozen players in this league compared to average Anders.
Here you go. You ready to listen?
I'm ready.
Leading goal scorer, Austin Matthews, 20 goals. Number 2 in the NHL, Connor McDavid, who's tied with Tyler Toffoli with 15.
Tyler Toffoli's
been lighting up this year, for certain. He has. I'll tell you one thing, makes that free agent signing look pretty damn good, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Well, that was my thing. And I'm like, okay, Anders Lee right now, he's tied for 11th.
11. So he's not even top 10. And somebody cherry-picked Connor McDavid. How about points? Go to points in the league. Who leads?
I'm going to tell you what, it's not even going to be close. It's not even going to be close. I'm just saying, it put things into perspective of how well he's been putting the puck in the back of the net. That's all it did for me. I'm not saying he's as good as Connor McDavid. I'm not saying he's, was close to as good as Connor McDavid or anything like that. I'm just saying. He's scoring this year.
It also helps that he's always out there in the last couple of minutes of the game when there's an empty net. Trotz puts him out there all the time. I don't know why. He can't skate. He can't defend. But let's see if we can get him some cheapy goals so we can inflate his stats so some moron can come on and try to compare him to Connor McDavid, please. Tyler Toffoli is way better than average too then, right? Way better. He's infinitely better than average Anders Lee. Infinitely. He's got 15 goals too. You got the other guy with 20, right? What percentage is that? I mean, so he's got what? Almost twice as many goals? I mean, come on.
Yeah,
he's 11th.
Tied for 11th. You let it slip there, Anders. You let it slip there, Anders Lee. Anyway, we got a few comments here, Grump. Hey, no sports apparel tonight, Grump.
No, I was thinking about wearing something, but then I received such backlash from my last jersey selection that I said, you know what? I'm just going to put on this nice black shirt. I think it looks pretty nice. I think I look sharp. So I decided to wear this today.
You almost blend in with the couch. You almost blend in with the couch. I know the couch looks more brown, but man, oh man, you almost blend right in with the couch.
Do you want to know why the couch looks more brown, TJ? Because it is brown. Thank you.
Well, good to see. I got a comment also here from Scott saying Bridgeport lost again today to Providence. They are 2-6 on the season. Jakub Skarek was in net, and his record fell to 1-5 on the year. Are you worried about his future with the Islanders organization? I'll tell you one thing. Goalies take a long time to develop. I've watched Skarek a few times. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I don't foresee him having a future anytime soon. Again, in an ideal scenario, the best case he could be with the Islanders is a 1B starter. Absolute best case scenario. What you'd like to ideally have is Sorokin is going to be the rock back there, and he's going to be the netminder for years to come in the future. I mean, best case scenario, Jakub Skarek's looking at maybe like a 1B starter or his career with another organization if he wants to be a full-on starter for some team in the NHL. His
future doesn't even matter to me. We have our number one goalie. Who cares? Goalies are a dime a dozen. Honestly, backup goalies are a dime a dozen. Didn't used to be that way, but it certainly is now.
We have our number one goalie, and he's young. Definitely for a goalie. He's young. I mean, he's 25, 26 years old. He's young for a goalie. He's still got plenty of years left there, at least 10 years still playing at a very high level.
True. And Skarek, whatever. Like I said, I'm not even concerned about him.
We got a comment here from Paul. Paul's saying, can you guys just argue all night? Talk hockey another time. I'll tell you. I'm sure there's certain sports topics that would just cause arguments between myself and the grumpy old man. So, oh goodness.
I have no problem at all arguing all night. It's something I'm good at.
Well, Scott also saying, Grumpy, we need your analysis on AJ's hair from last night, please.
Okay. Again. Just put a little spray on it over here, AJ, where you have your part. Just a little bit of spray and just pat it down a little bit. And you'll be fine. She did a Boston channel. I think that, I don't know if it was Monday. I think it was Monday was National Woman Empowerment Day. I don't know. In Sport Day.
It's National Women in Sports Day, Grump.
Okay, there you go. I knew it was something like that. And they had her on this Boston channel, and she knew more about Boston than she knows about the Islanders, honestly. I'm like, where is this? And her hair was still a freaking mess. I'm like, the only time her hair ever looked good was when she was on the NBC Sports playoffs last year. It was a little rough the first couple of games, but they said to her, hey, spray that beast down. You're on national television now, not some, a late night cable show. You're going to have to clean up your act. But then as soon as she's off of there for a while, she goes right back to her old ways, and that's what you get.
Well, you had asked for a few submissions about guess what AJ's day job is. And we got one, Grump, here on YouTube, actually, from Woulda Films. And he says, he or she says, AJ runs the wind tunnel for Boeing. She said, love you, AJ. All love, though.
Yeah. I mean, we don't hate AJ. Just the fact that she can't run a comb through it. Run a comb through it. That's her nickname.
Oh, goodness gracious. Here goes. Brian B is saying, I'm calling my shot. Boston misses the playoffs. The Isles, Washington, Pittsburgh, and Philly.
I'll tell you what. Bruce Cassidy's a really good coach. And it's interesting because Jake DeBrusk was a healthy scratch, and he came out and absolutely shredded him in the press. I mean, just shredded him, saying we tried everything with him. Maybe he needs to sit and watch for a while. If they're that unhappy with him, and obviously Trotz is unhappy with Bellows, how about trying to make a trade? Those two guys, swap them out. If Kiefer Bellows not going to play for your team, why not try to pick up somebody who can? And they've played DeBrusk up and down the lineup this year, and he hasn't produced. But you know what? If you're never going to play Kiefer Bellows, why not try Jake DeBrusk?
Okay. Islander fans get in this a lot. Kiefer Bellows has zero value. Absolutely none. I couldn't. And the thing is, I hoped Kiefer Bellows was going to get a shot and get a chance there to actually crack legitimate NHL minutes. But he has. I could not imagine Kiefer Bellows having any trade value at all.
Okay. Well, but like I said, if the other guy's, totally out of favor with the other team, it's only a phone call. I mean, it's only a landline call away, Lou. That's all you need to do. Dial it to get on your rotary phone. Just make that phone call to Boston. I'm sure you got the zip code in there. Nothing wrong with that. That said, I still think Boston makes the playoffs. Everyone kind of forgets how banged up they are right now, particularly on defensive end. But if they get everything right, they're a one-line team too. I mean, we've got some secondary scoring now, but they're basically a one-line team. And
it's all the excellence line. It's been I feel like it's been like that for a while. And again, the injuries are obviously hurting them on the back end too. I mean, I can't quantify how much I think that's affecting them. I think they played a real tough game against us also. So right now we're number one in the East Division. And again, we could see that's definitely subject to change after we go ahead and get done with our easy spurt there, and we finish off there against the New Jersey Devils. But makes you wonder.
It's the perfection line. That's Bergeron's line. And I mean, if you watched last night's game, I mean, I thought that Marchand was maybe the best player on the ice last night. I thought, and I hate him, but I thought he was really effective for them. He's a good player. I hate him, but he's a good player.
Can we talk about Brad Marchand jumping Kiefer Bellows there? And again, I don't like Brad Marchand. I never have, never will. But you talk about that type of immediate fire reaction. He didn't even really see what happened. Didn't even notice really it was his own teammate kind of tripped up into the boards and Kiefer missed him. His natural reaction, just based off of seeing how his player went at the boards, is to drop the glove and start pummeling the hell out of Kiefer from behind to on top of him. I mean, having, as much as I don't like it, that type of vigor and that type of ability to stick up for teammates and just go blindly protect them is something that, I don't know. It's something I always like to see. I mean, again, Brad Marchand obviously in the wrong there, and it cost them a goal. But I love the reaction. I love the fact that he's going ahead and sticks up for every single teammate anytime he thinks that they've been unjustly hit.
I mean, that's the way a team should be. I mean, and I'm going to tell you what, when Wilson ran Carlo last week, two guys jumped him in that game, went right after him, and they were going after him the whole game. That's what we need more of. We need more. I mean, I know Barry doesn't want to teach that style, but at some point in time, you don't want to get pushed around. And I mean, I've been through this before. You can't. You don't want your guys getting free runs at Barzal. I mean, who cares if they run Bailey or Average or Croc? But you don't want them running Barzal.
Here's my question. Did you get to hear on the broadcast yesterday when they were talking about Barry Trotz as a young coach? It was his 1700th game as an NHL coach, third most all time. Did you hear his take on what he used to be like and what type of mistakes he made as a younger coach? He said he used to be a very angry and fiery coach, and he regrets that. It wasn't. I thought to myself, I'm like, yeah, if I remember back during the national days, he could get a little bit of an attitude there to him. But the thing is, I couldn't think of a better fit for him team-wise when he talks about how he used to be more fiery coach, used to be that, and it wasn't necessarily a good fit. When he goes to the Islanders. The Islanders, and you look at it, look at them on paper, they're not really a fiery team. They're a team that plays really good structure, not a fiery team. And they weren't a fiery team before Barry got there. They weren't a fiery team under Capuano either. So it makes you think to yourself, I'm like, oh, yeah, this actually was a really good fit also for Barry.
Well,
personality-wise, I think that's the case.
Yeah, I just wish we were a little bit more fiery. That's all. I mean, there's certain instances where a little bit of physicality and a little bit of ultra aggression can benefit our team. I mean, I don't know. I just wish we were. I just wish we weren't so much like white bread. That's all.
Well, they step up to the bell sometimes and can get fiery, but they're not a team that has that every single night. They're a team that's like, all right, let's focus on our game, play our game. And again, like for Barry Trotz's system, that is important. I think it's like this. I would love for the team to be more fiery, and I look at it like this. Sometimes when the Islanders, they concede, we haven't seen it in a while, but if they concede quite a few goals, quite a few goals in a row, so like 3 or 4 goals in a row. I mean, it hasn't happened in a while, but I always got pissed when I never saw Barry Trotz on the bench tearing into these players. I always do, because I'm like, to think that you're just going to sit by and be like, okay, guys, just keep up the same exact thing that's working, and you've conceded now 3 goals in a row. That's always rubbed me the wrong way. But now when I think about it like this, grumpy old man, playing a dedicated defensive style, it's really tough to have that fire and wanting to be feisty every single night. I think it's just difficult to do.
Well, you know what? I think, TJ, what they should have is a guillotine behind the bench. So when guys are screwing up, really just behead them right on the spot. That's what I think.
Who would be the first person submitted to this guillotine idea, Grump?
Josh Bailey.
Really? That's just your guess that he would be the first person to make you a little upset.
No, Matt Barzal will be the first guy to get his head cut off. Absolutely, it'd be Matt Barzal. Oh, Matt, you scored 4 goals tonight, but you took a penalty when a guy tripped you, and you turned around and he fell down, and they called a trip. Off with your head.
Speaking of bad penalties. Man, oh man, did you get to see those calls against Oliver Wahlstrom yesterday? And it wasn't just the second one where he received somehow a coincidental minor, or he received a minor there while Marchand received a double minor.
He got a minor for getting beat up by Marchand. That was his minor. That guy fell. He looked like he was easing off. He wasn't even trying to hit him. And Marchand jumped him, and he got a 2-minute penalty. I'm like, what? That's the way officials are. It's funny because
it was Wes McCauley too, which was the shock. And I mean, when you watch this one too, Grump, this was called boarding yesterday. Yeah. And again, it didn't wind up costing us the game. And I mean, and we had a lot of chances. I mean, if Eberle puts that puck in the net too, we're looking at a win in regulation also. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, if this is a game that matters, we have not really experienced poor referees where it's cost us a game this year. And I mean, we're fortunate we didn't this game either, but still, man, oh man, how the hell is this a boarding call?
He turned his back as he was there. And boarding, don't you at least have to hit the boards? I mean, at least hit the guy into the boards. I mean, I don't know what you call it, checking. Maybe they'll call it that. If this was women's hockey, that would be a penalty because they're not allowed to check.
The only thing they could say is maybe charging, but it's certainly not charging, and it's definitely not boarding.
It's nothing. And everyone's saying how great Wes McCauley is and how he lets
Them play.
players play. And then you see Average not moving his lazy feet, and he wound up tripping a guy, which it was a borderline. All right, yeah, okay. Was it a tripping penalty? Yeah, it was. But I'm going to tell you what else. After you didn't call anything all game, it's awful tough to call that. Now, Average should have kept moving his very average feet, but he did not. So that's why he got that. It didn't cost us, but whatever.
I just thought it was funny. And you're right, Wes McCauley, especially from the other players in the NHL, gets the rep of being, the best referee out there on the ice. Definitely not a great. And again, I didn't necessarily pay attention to who made every single one of these calls, but in the same token, man, oh man, it was just not a good night for the officiating crew as a whole. There, no. I'm just happy it didn't cost us any game or any types of points like that.
I mean, you saw. And Boston loves to get their sticks on guys' hands. I mean, they had their sticks all over Barzell's hands all night long. And he just wouldn't call anything, and he calls Average for the trip. You can't let one thing go and call the other. If you don't want to call anything, that's fine. You know how the game is going to be called. You can't not call it all game and then call something like that at the end. I don't believe in that. Yeah,
I mean, we've been fortunate where it hasn't. Last night was the first night where I thought to myself, man, oh man, I'm pissed at the officiating. But there have been some bad calls against us. But last night rubbed me the wrong way, I guess you could say. I got a few more comments here. Brian P. saying Lee and McDavid are not in the same stratosphere. That's correct. They're not in the same stratosphere. I just thought it was interesting. Anders Lee has quite a few goals. That's all.
Again. What? That's fine. You know what? He's not even in the same solar system. There is no comparison between the two of them. Absolutely none.
If I knew out of space terms or space terms like that, I would say maybe not in the same galaxy. But to be honest, I really don't. I really am not sure if that's something that could also be applied there for that.
If McDavid lives on this planet, Anders Lee lives in a galaxy far, far away.
Gotcha. That's a little Star Wars reference. Thank you there, Grumpy.
I'm surprised you got that.
I did. That's about as mainstream as it gets. Jim P. saying Bridgeport sucks, and they're playing two teams who are better and deeper than they are. Scarrick played very well today. 27 saves on 29 shots. I'll be honest. I don't expect them to win many games. You're right. They have no forward depth at all at Bridgeport. Defense, again, seems to be pretty well-rounded for Bridgeport, but the forwards, man, oh man, they seem hideous. I mean, when you look at the lineup on paper, it's nothing that I'm saying, oh wow, I cannot wait for XYZ. I mean, they do have Casper though, Grump. They've got Casper and Otto Koivula.
I'm gonna bet Casper was like a -2 or -3. He leads us. Yeah, he's one of the worst players in plus minus as well. So I thought you'd be interested to know that.
What do you mean?
Casper in Bridgeport, he's one of the worst players with plus minus.
Hold on. Are you trying to tell me you keep up with Bridgeport stats?
I do.
I've known you for a long time. And we've been on this podcast for a long time. I've never heard you ever talk about Bridgeport stats.
You want to know why I brought it up? Because I was so upset with the Casper drafting that, I also track my boy Phil Tomasino, Kaliev, and McMichael. I look at their stats religiously just to prove my point every single week. It just makes me feel good about myself being right again.
Oh, goodness gracious. I do keep up with them a little bit, but man, yeah, quoting Bridgeport stats. I know they took a 3-0 loss there today. Gotcha. We got a few more comments here from Paul D saying the grumpy old man. He's got some dinosaurs on there with laughing faces. And congrats to Barry Trotz on coaching his 1700th game. Terrific. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. The consistency that Barry Trotz has as a coach, think about 1,700 games and the consistency and the dedication to the sport. Man, oh man, it's hard. That's really hard to imagine. 1,700 games.
Well, you have to be doing something right too. If you're going to be, unless you own the team, when you coach it, to have someone hire you to coach that many games. And he's been coaching 19 years or 15 years in Nashville, and I guess 5 or something in Washington, and the last 3 with us. That's a lot of years in a row. I mean, it's not like he's got a career in television after this. So they better keep on. He better keep up the good work, so he'll always have a job.
I don't think Barry Trotz's personality is one that would ever bode well for any type of television at all.
No.
Could you imagine him being an NHL analyst coming out? I mean, again, this is just listening based off of the post-game interviews. Maybe it's better. Maybe if he's not like so involved, he could speak a little more freely. But he's not a guy I'd ever imagine having a personality that would bode well for like an NHL analyst.
No, I mean, I no. That's why I brought it up. It was an easy, cheap shot for me to take at Barry. So.
Oh, goodness. Cheap shots. Jim P. also saying, could you imagine Lee playing on an offensive team, Grump? He'd be leading the league in goals.
It's true. If he was like skating like in a Mite division or a Pee Wee division, he would be leading the league in goals because he'd be 3 times bigger than everybody than those 10 or 11-year-olds. He'd be able to do really well there. But you know what he's not going to do? He's not going to lead the NHL in scoring. That much I can tell you.
Well, I mean, the Islanders are not a very, very offensive-minded team. And to think, goal total-wise, I think he could put more than 12 goals. We use the same exact argument. Devon Toews is playing really well for Colorado. If he was playing for us, probably would not have as many goals as he would with Colorado. So, again, it's worth entertaining this same exact thought process with Anders Lee. If he was playing somewhere else, he'd have more than 12 goals probably. Again, I'm not trying to say he's as good as Connor McDavid. I know as soon as you hear Anders Lee and a sentence that contains Connor McDavid, and unless it's me saying Connor McDavid is way better than Anders Lee, immediately you go, whoa, were you trying to draw a comparison between the best player in the league and Anders Lee, an average?
You keep on bringing up Connor McDavid. No one else is bringing it up. I didn't bring it up. Jim didn't bring it up. You brought it up now. You mentioned them in the same sentence, just like you always used to bring Patrick Kane. Anders Lee is better than Patrick Kane. Remember that ridiculous take?
That is a mischaracterization again. And it's you almost 100%. Make me want to go all the way back 3 years ago to pull up the exact conversation.
It's 100% accurate.
Oh, man. I'll tell you. We got to hear from Brian P. Also, every goalie that's ever played for Trotz puts up big numbers. Goalie prospects, you can find them anywhere. It's goal scorers that are difficult to find. Yeah, that's right. I mean, look at the goalies. Look at the goalies Barry Trotz has had that have performed extremely well. Holtby was a damn good goalie for the Washington Capitals back under Barry Trotz. I mean, Pecorine, even UC Soros was a good goalie there for a little bit of time for the Nashville Predators. And you got to hear, I mean, Varlamov's played really well. Robin Leonard played really well there for Barry Trotz. And Sorokin hopefully will continue to play very well for Barry Trotz also.
Goalies today, it's different. Even from when Barry Trotz came in the league, the implementation of the butterfly style has revolutionized the goalie position. I'm not saying that goalies back in the day, I think you had to be a better goalie 30, 40 years ago than you do now, just because of positioning. Before the butterfly style, everyone was a stand-up goalie, and you had to be better to stop shots. Now, you're just kind of blocking the lower part of the net, and guys are going to have to really pick spots on you. It's why it's harder to score goals than it used to be. And the fact that the Trotz system benefits that by funneling high leverage chances really helps out those stats too. So I'm not saying that it's Barry Trotz. I'm just saying it's the system. That's all.
I got a comment here from Eric K saying, I feel good about the next 3 games if we continue to work hard and shoot at the net. And I think, Grump, this is a great transition. Did you happen to see the goal that was bing, bang, boom, a tic-tac-toe play by the Islanders on that power play? That was absolutely beautiful for that Brock Nelson goal. I know you're talking a little bit about it earlier, but that was that's a perfectly drawn up play right there. That's one of those that you almost have in practice. It's just completely executed just as easy as practice is.
That goal was a total creation of Matt Barzal, and he was the secondary assist on it. But the subtle way that he played that particular play, if you see it, he eased up, and the clip doesn't show it appropriately. He eased up and slowed up and pulled back to let Pajot go down low. Everyone goes towards Barzal. When that happens, feed it to Pajot, right to Kroc, who's standing right there in the slot, and it was a great shot by him. It was a tic-tac-toe goal without a doubt. And
it all starts there. Clifton just kind of left in no man's land. I mean, look at this. He's just skating little circles around here. He's left in no man's land there by Barzal. And again, that pass immediately there from Pajot to Brock Nelson. I mean, that's a perfectly drawn up play right there, just as you practice it. Always reassuring to see there the power play continue to keep its heat and momentum. I had no idea, because I don't watch the Bruins much unless they're playing the Islanders, but their power play was struggling pretty mightily. Of course, they happened to score a power play goal against us, but I did not know their power play was struggling as mightily over the last few games.
Yeah, they struggle to score goals. If that first line isn't scoring, they're not scoring. Pasternak is just now starting to score a little bit. Marchand's been doing well. You know, Bergeron's 36, 37 years old now. You expect them to be slowing down a little bit. And I think Bergeron's a great player. But it is what it is, and that's good news for us.
Mm-hmm. Brian B. is saying, why did I see Leo on the ice last night? Ugh, I will tell you, there was somebody in the live stream on Saturday who said Uncle Leo would be in the lineup. And I said, I can't believe it. There's no way. The team is doing really well. Why the hell would we throw Uncle Leo in there? Sure enough, we see him out there on the ice yesterday, Grump. Initial take that Uncle Leo slithers and finds his way back on the ice.
It's a subtle thing. I'm going to tell you again. Our broadcast team is fed what to say. The last couple of games, you heard Butch going on about Michael Del Colo. He needs to score more. He needs to be this. That's not what got Michael Del Colo in the lineup. So this way, when he doesn't score, they feel justified. Well, now we can put Leo, who also doesn't score. We can put him in the lineup because we need more penalty killers, more bottom tier guys. I don't understand why he plays. You have me. I don't know. It's the same. How does Chris Lamarillo keep his job in Bridgeport? How does Brent Thompson keep his job in Bridgeport? I mean, these are just – it's like they used to have that show, Unsolved Mysteries, with, Robert Stack, I think, was the actor who used to do it. He used to be in The Untouchables back in the 50s, the 1950s. I think it was Robert Stack, and he was in Unsolved Mysteries. And he could have put the Islanders up there. You know, how does Leo Komarov play? How does Matt Martin, how does the $6 million man keep a job? How does Brent Thompson and Chris Lamarillo keep jobs? Well, we know how Chris Lamarillo keeps his job. He just knocks on the bedroom door. Daddy, is it okay if I start this guy tomorrow? Can we put Casper in the lineup? Is that what you want? That's how he keeps his job.
You forgot about the biggest unsolved mystery, though, around the Islanders, Grump, and I'm kind of upset.
How Josh Bailey's able to play on this team?
No, not that. Why does AJ Malesko's hair look like it does there? What's her daytime job? That's the biggest unsolved mystery.
That's not a mystery. See, we used Wind Tunnel, and we had Storm Chaser. And
we're guessing around on those. We don't even know. I'm just saying that. That's an unsolved mystery, Grump. Well, we're looking to get to the bottom of it. And any type of fan submission through Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube will get mentioned. So we are looking for the daytime job.
Well, she has 4 children. And I mean, that's a full-time job. I'm sorry. I mean,
that it is.
You know, all kidding aside, that's a full-time job for her. And she also coaches them playing hockey. How'd you like to have AJ coaching you? Oof.
I would love it. I would. Anytime anybody who has like a significant part there in the game, imagine like as a young kid like that having somebody coach you. I mean, AJ, as much as we give, she knows a damn lot about hockey, and to have that, especially as a young individual, it's one of those items where it's like, as a parent too, I feel like you'd be so like, okay, anything she says goes, and that's the best coach that you're ever going to probably have, your kid's ever going to have. That's definitely the most knowledgeable coach that your kid's probably going to have, unless they're playing in the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not talking about her qualifications of being able to coach.
You're just saying, how would you like to have AJ as a coach there for your kid? I'd love it. That'd be awesome.
Anytime you open or close the doors, you got to worry about her hair getting stuck in there. I mean, you know, the kids getting tangled up behind the bench. You know, I don't know how old the kids are. You know, it's got to be a mess. That's all I got to say. Maybe she wears a hat.
Oh, God almighty. Oh, goodness. Yeah,
and I'm not here to rip AJ today. I'm not.
As he does it. Anyway, Brian P. The Brusk has 1 goal and 5 assists. He could use a change of scenery. He'd be a perfect on the Islanders' third line left wing.
How would you like to hit him on the left wing, Wallstrom and Pajot? That's pretty nice.
I think I mistakenly earlier said that Oliver Wahlstrom had no trade value. If I did that, I meant to say Kiefer Bellows. Yeah, it's Wahlstrom, TJ, not, or maybe I made a mistake. I don't know. I got a few of those comments saying it's Wahlstrom, not Bellows. I can't. It was a while ago. I forgot exactly what I said, but I'm sure with a few comments rolling in, I meant to say Oliver Wahlstrom and not Bellows.
I'm just glad. Here's the thing, people. Any comment that comes up, TJ's the only way. He will not let me look at the comments. He doesn't want me to get involved with the people. He wants to keep total control of the whole operation here. I'm just telling you. So I'm sure there's a lot of things he screws up. And most of them, I'm sure he doesn't even put up here. I'm shocked he put this up here. Probably because it was a boatload of them. That's why he put it up here.
There's about 50 or 60 comments, grumpy old man, talking about the mistake. And you know what I do also? Anytime there's a good comment about you, I make sure not to show it.
I believe that.
I was about to say, I bet you would believe something like that. Oh goodness. Yeah, I hate Anasu. I always mispronounce his name. Brian P saying, I would love Anasu on the third line. He only makes $1.5 million and is playing well for LA, 10 points in 16 games and is a terrific skater. Because if we're thinking about coming up at the trade deadline, what realistically the Islanders could be looking at? It's a third line left wing. That's exactly what they're looking at. I don't think they're looking at anything else. I think that's what they're kind of targeting in on if they're looking at anything this trade deadline.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously not going to break up the first two lines in any way, shape, or form.
Or the fourth.
Or the fourth. Ugh. But, yeah, to have another winger with a little bit more pop opposite of Wahlstrom, I think they do need that. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with kicking the tires and finding out. I mean, you got the expansion draft coming up at the end of this year. So if nobody has a future with your team, if you know they don't, and you're not going to protect them, why not offer a couple things to try to get somebody on to fill that third line role? I don't know. Just a little bit of initiative there, Lou.
Well, I do think definitely third line, left wing is what they're looking at, if anything, this trade deadline. I don't think they're touching top two or the fourth line. I don't think we're looking at any defensive options, and we're certainly not looking for any goalie options here at the trade deadline.
But you think about it. If you want to win a Stanley Cup, is improving one winger on your third line going to be enough to win your Stanley Cup? Nope, it's not.
I'll be honest with you. If we had, I need you to withhold reaction, Crump. It's going to be one of those statements that I feel like you're going to have a hyperbolic reaction to. If we had a more offensively talented left winger, I think that makes our third line comparable to most second lines in the NHL. I really do. With Wahlstrom continuing to grow in confidence in the step in the role, with Jean-Gabriel Pageau continuing to play, and he's hot, and then adding a more offensive-minded left winger that might not be, you know what I mean, even if he's a guy who's maybe like a tweener between, he's a top nine forward. If you're able to add a guy who's got more offensive punch, I think that third line could almost be as good as second lines on most teams.
I say if we had a first line sniper, that would give us a shot because everybody else drops down. I'm not saying that you should that we should just strive for a third line guy. I'd rather strive for a first line guy and push everybody else down. That's what I would do.
I'd strive to bring in Connor McDavid and Taylor Hall. I don't know.
Maybe you can trade him straight up for Anders Lee.
Hey, it sounds like we've got Isles on Isles representative, grumpy old man with us here today.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. I'm trying to look at it realistically, what the Islanders would do and what I think would help us out. And again, like in the situation we're in, I think if we can add more offensive pop there as a left winger, because Michael Delcole, let's face it, does not have any offensive pop. Neither does Leo Komarov or anybody else they try to roll out there in the third line left winger position. I mean, like Kiefer Bellows, his chance is done. His fun in the sun with the Islanders is done, especially for this year. So it makes you wonder, that's probably a position they're looking at. They're identifying, saying, hey, Oliver Wahlstrom has really been scoring in the opportunities we've given him. So is Jean-Gabriel Pageau. Could we imagine adding more offensive pop there to that left wing position? A guy who's going to have the same exact energy as a Michael Delcole fighting for those pucks along the boards, but also has just a smidge bit more of offensive touch. Could you imagine how dangerous that third line could be? And I think that really helps make a difference.
Maybe we could bring Andrew Ladd back up. He's Anders Lee 1.0. I can bring him up there, see what he can do.
Oh, grumpy. Oh, goodness gracious. Paul D also saying McCauley did not make that penalty call. It was the ref who only had 14 games of experience. I was about to say, I'm not sure who exactly made the calls. I just know that that McCauley gets that rep for being the best referee in the NHL. And again, I'm not sure if he also called that Anders Lee call, but you could tell he never calls any of those slashes on the wrist. He's more of an old school type of guy. It was not a good officiated game there for the entire crew. And you think about it, I know you don't want to step on the toes of other referees. And I've always wondered about like how when the referees work like that, especially a guy who's only 14 games in the NHL, how that works where it's like, I know that he blatantly missed a call. Am I going to undermine a guy who's just starting to get some confidence and maybe that derails him for the rest of the game? Or are we just going to say, all right, maybe I think he missed that call, but you know what I mean? I'm just going to let him continue to gain on it. Hopefully the rest of his game and what he calls will be better.
Do your job, ref. Do your job. I don't care if I step on toes. Do your job. You're at the highest level of your job. You should be able to call it correctly. It's like, you see in the NFL, they got the girl official who was in the Super Bowl this year. I don't know how she got that spot, honestly. If you ever watch her, whenever there's a call to be made, if it's questionable, she's always looking for somebody else to make the call. And then she makes the call. If you're not ready for that level, I don't want to hear it. Like I said, Wes McCauley, if you didn't think Mr. 14 games was ready, you need to call him out and say, hey, Junior, you're not doing your job.
I'll be honest. If speaking about NFL referees, it almost seems like the majority of them always have to go chattered up to make sure we confirm the call. Very rare. The amount of competent NFL referees you can hold in the palm of your hand. And again, like there's so many. And again, she was a side judge. There are so many of those referees that are just not very good at their job. And it's unfortunate where I'm thinking how often we see calls that are just blatantly missed across all sports. And I get it. Referees are human, but I've always believed the best of the best should be in there, especially at the top level of the game.
It's the advent of instant replay is why they do that. They don't want to get shown up, so they're going to call everybody in. Okay, if you didn't see it the first time, I don't know what talking everybody's going to do. They all have specific jobs to do. Little Miss Line woman, your job is to spot the ball. If you have to look at the guy in the end zone to make a determination, you're not doing your job. If Mr. 14 games can't make that call, go back to the minors. Practice, back in Pee-wees. And I'm going to say again, the Anders Lee play was a trip. The only issue I had with it is they let everything else go the whole game to call that. There was a lot of trips going on in that game, a lot of hooks. And I'm not a fan of the little taps on the hand getting penalties. I'm not. But if you're going to not call all those like you're supposed to, you can't call one like that late in the game. I just think it's bad luck.
And Wood of Films, that was a comment, Grump, who made it about Boeing testing out those Boeing jet turbines. He says, Never Say Die podcast is by far the best New York Islanders podcast. Thank you. But TJ, you got to let Grump finish his dinner.
That's right. Because, hey, everyone knows, it's not like I need to eat my dinner at a certain time. I'm not like one of you young kids who can eat, chili cheeseburger at 1:30 in the morning and then just roll over and go to bed. I'm not like that. Okay, I got to eat a little bit earlier in the day. And I got to make sure my food's got time to digest. When I'm done here with this podcast, I'm going to do a little walking. See, I got to kind of walk that stuff off. TJ, I don't know what you do. I don't even care. But, I'm sure you don't have that type of regime that I have.
No, I'm just kind of like sporadic. I eat when I want to eat type of thing.
Okay. TJ, this is a true story now. TJ's fiance, Paige, is out of town. That means TJ has to cook his own food. So TJ goes on empty the refrigerator day. He cooked himself eggs, bacon, sausage, avocado, and potato wedges, threw them all into a bucket and swallowed it all up. I don't even know if he cooked it, honestly.
I made sure to send it to you, Grump, but I said eating well over here. Yeah, it was great. I loved it. I mean, that's just breakfast food. I wouldn't call it clear the refrigerator day. It's just time to eat breakfast.
Did you eat it for breakfast or for dinner?
For dinner.
Okay, so it was not a breakfast. It was a dinner item.
I don't eat breakfast. I don't have time to eat breakfast. So I just eat lunch and dinner.
He emptied out his refrigerator, dumped it into a bucket, and just swallowed it up. That's what he does. As a matter of fact, I bet the bowl isn't even left. Probably it's half bitten up.
You know what I did? You know those old school cartoons where he picks up the refrigerator and just opens one of the doors and just dumps everything all over the place? That's what I did. And whatever landed on the plate is what I ate.
I know it. You're not telling me anything I don't know.
And David C. Hey, how are you doing? Grump, did you see Koivula was a healthy scratch today? Reminder to bring up Casper in the Three Amigos.
Already done, David. Way ahead of you.
Otto Koivula was a healthy scratch. I saw his name pop up. I saw his name pop up there on my feed. I didn't have a chance to look at it beforehand. Otto Koivula was a healthy scratch.
Well, they're not going to protect him in the expansion draft either. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be so pissed when I look at that expansion draft, the protected list, because we're going to protect a whole bunch of guys over 30 years old, and it's going to drive me absolutely insane.
Otto Koivula. I can tell you one thing. Number one, Otto Koivula is not going to be selected in the expansion draft. I don't think you have to worry about that. A guy who's down there in the AHL there and doesn't even break the roster, I don't think you really have to worry about him being a guy that they're going to target or possibly select.
I'm just saying, if you're an expansion team, why would you pick anyone over the age of 30? It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, if you want somebody over the age of 30, you go after some free agents. They're going to have money to spend. That's a team that if you want to try to dump some of your cap on, you dump it on the Kraken. You dump it on them because hockey has been in this area forever.
I'm floored right now that Otto Koivula. I honestly didn't really listen to much of what you said, Grum. Otto Koivula was healthy scratched. Again, here is my question. We've talked about it a million freaking times on this podcast at Bridgeport. What the hell is Brett Thompson thinking down there? The point of Bridgeport is to develop young players and teach them how to win and be professionals. That is your job. It's not, hey, let's go ahead and roll out the same old guys we got out there. Otto Koivula has showed promise. He's played well in Bridgeport. And the thing is, he has no weapons, no wingers around him. I've seen Otto Koivula play. I've seen him play there overseas earlier on this year. I've seen him play in Bridgeport. That's a guy who I thought should be competing there for a spot in some capacity. I could tell you this, getting healthy scratch down there in Bridgeport, to answer your question, we will be re-signing back Casey Cizikas to a long-term deal, and Otto Koivula will just be relegated to a professional AHLer. How the hell are you healthy scratching Otto Koivula? Again, maybe he was sick. I have no idea. But if it's a healthy scratch due to performance reasons or you didn't like the way he was practicing, I'm floored.
I don't understand anything they do, honestly. I don't understand why we sign Anders Lee to a 7-year, $7 million contract when all he can do is stand in front of the net. Or how we sign Leo Komarov, who can't do anything at this stage of his career, to a 4-year deal, $3 million per, with no move clause, no less.
That was a while ago. It's a modified. It's a modified no move clause, and that was a while ago. That was 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago.
You don't give fourth line players no move clauses. Period. Ever. Bottom 6 guys don't get no move clauses. The $6 million man. You could have had that guy for vet minimum, and you felt like you had to sign him for 4 years at 1.5 per. $6 million. The $6 million man. Are you kidding me? He's a fourth line, not even any good anymore grinder. You keep on throwing money like that away, and then you wonder why you have to trade Devon Taves. I mean, those are the type of things that drive me crazy. Who's the next guy? Oh, Adam Pelech. Sorry. We have to sign Casey Cizikas back. Yeah, we know he's in his 30s and that he can't really play a full season anymore, and he's a fourth-line center. But we don't care. You're like on our top defense pairing of one of the best defensive teams in the league. We don't need you. Ryan Kulak, we're going to sign you for 2 years, and then you can be an unrestricted free agent. We don't need you. We need more old guys like that. That's what we need. We need more geezers. I don't understand it. We're not going to win a Stanley Cup, people. Not one of the lineup or not.
I love how you jump from that and you just automatically hold on. You talk about that and you annex it immediately over to we're not going to win a Stanley Cup, people. I just love how you're jumping all over the place, and the end bit is we're not going to win a Stanley Cup, people.
That's all I care about is winning Stanley Cups. I don't care about the guys in the beer league. I want to win Stanley Cups. I want to be hoisting that cup. I'd love it for it to be average, but it's not going to be him.
You have Lord TJ's cup right here. Maybe I can get a sticker that says that, Grump.
The fire hydrant.
The fire hydrant.
At the 1 hour mark.
Oh, goodness. Goodness. Jim P saying rumors are Connolly for Komarov. Was that Brett Connolly?
Yep. I'd do it. At least Brett Connolly has scored in the past.
I mean, Brett Connolly, for taking it back now, we're taking it back. He was originally drafted very high pick. I think he was a top 10 pick back in the day. And the thing is, he's had a few seasons as of recent where he's put up 30, 40 points. And again, he's not going to be a guy who, lights his score sheet on fire. But you talk about a guy who can add a little bit more offensive acumen, offensive pop. Brett Connolly is also a big winger too. He's
also played for Barry Trotz in Washington. So that I would not be opposed to anything to get Leo off the roster. I mean, I don't need guys taking boarding penalties, then not covering their guy, giving up goals, and then we're going to move them up to the second line. I mean, I don't need to see any more of that. I mean, yesterday I looked at Bailey. Bailey on the power play. You just look, when he's got the puck on the power play, they just all sag off, and he won't shoot it. Will not shoot the puck. I tell you, I lose my mind watching that Bailey. And I thought, how we talked about maybe doing something, watching a game. I was cussing at Josh Bailey. And then after he does that, he misses a pass. I'm like, Bailey? Bailey.
If we did one of those, I could promise you it wouldn't be released there in a podcast format.
It could not be released in a podcast format.
Oh, God almighty, Crump. Will S. saying, TJ, what did you think of Uncle Leo? Oh, God almighty, Uncle Leo. Oof. I'm just shocked. I'm shocked he finds a way to continue to slither his way there. You talk about a guy, Michael Cole is not very offensively talented. Uncle Leo has no offensive acumen. Let me put it like this. If Michael Doug Cole has no offensive acumen, Uncle Leo's somehow below that.
One thing he did well yesterday, he did go after Marchand, and I'll give him that.
That's literally the only reason I think maybe he was played, because he played well last time when they played the Boston Bruins. I think he was in the lineup. He played well against them. That was like his coming out game where he stepped into stride, if I remember that correctly. And he did. He always has that volatile relationship there with Brad Marchand. Wasn't he the guy? Did he lick Uncle Leo, or did he lick somebody else?
I asked, was he one of the guys that Marchand licked? I mean, look. Why the hell would you want to lick? First of all, why the hell you want to lick anybody just beyond my comprehension, honestly? But Leo Komarov, what's because he's from Russia? I mean, is that why you want to lick him? I don't understand. Everyone knows he's Russian.
Okay, yes, that was Uncle Leo who he licked. I couldn't remember. So that
you know how you stop Marchand? You take him penalty, but you get your stick up between his visor, up in that snout of his, poke his eyeballs out a couple of times. He won't be so tough. He's not going to be coming after you when he's spitting wood out of his nostrils for a couple of weeks. Stick up there.
Can you show me again the visual?
But you got to get the blade up underneath that visor. Dig around up there.
Oh my God!
It stops all that stuff. And that's the one thing with. Without having more physical aspects of the game and more fighting and more goons, that you guys get away with that stuff. Marchand never would have got away with that stuff back in the day. I'm going to tell you flat out. He would have had to learn. He would have had to fight, and he would have got beaten up. You think what Bob Probert was? If Bob Probert would have let that go on when he was playing for Detroit or Chicago, absolutely not. He just would have been like a little bloody stump out there on the ice. You think his big nose is big now? Wait till Probert got finished with him.
Wait till he got a chance to break it a few times. Scott L saying average has cement in his skates. That's why his feet don't move. I figured I'd show you that, Grump, because I know you're going to be like, that's right. I agree with that. So I show you.
He can't skate. It's always amazing when he's out there in the overtime. I'm like, okay, everybody else is in the offensive zone. Well, he's just getting off the bench. He just is what he is. I mean,
Brian P. also saying Koivula was playing well in Finland this year. That he certainly was. And again, he was putting up highlight reel chances and opportunities, creating offense from nothing. Very impressive there with the play in Finland this year. He gets back with horrendous Thompson and forgets how to play. Because
here's the thing. They don't give him an opportunity to be a scorer down there in Bridgeport. He's one of the bottom line guys, right? Why?
No. He was on the first line.
I thought he was not on the first line.
He was on. Again, we've only played a handful of games. I think it's only 8 games now. But I know he was on the first line there with Holmstrom.
I thought it was Fritz was the center of that line.
No, Holmstrom. It was Otto Koivula playing on the first line, centered by Holmstrom. Again, like we've only played 8 games, but I know like the times where I was looking at the lineup on a consistent basis, Otto Koivula was on the first line there with Simon Holmstrom.
Well, there's your reason why he wasn't playing well, playing with Casper. No wonder he's a minus whatever. Casper.
Well, I wanted to make sure to fill that because I figured it was a short leap for you to go ahead and draw a Casper comparison there, Grump, and how that he's really bringing down Otto Koivula's potential.
I think he's in cahoots with Thompson and Lamoriello to make Koivula look bad.
Wow, if this is not juicy, I don't know what is. David C. saying, Grump, a bit late to the show. Did you have a chance to show off your Sinatra-type pipes yet?
I didn't do it my way yet. Just wait till the end of the show.
Grump, you could have sung that.
Lady, tonight.
Oh, God. I guarantee you, David C's the only person asking for Frank Sinatra and the grumpy old man singing.
I know a boatload of Sinatra songs. My dad was a huge Sinatra fan, and he would play those records, actual records, people, in the living room till all hours of the night. I remember my mom screaming at him, going, "Shut that thing off! The kids are trying to go to sleep." Yeah. So, I mean, I know all those songs.
Oh, goodness gracious. Brian P. saying, Bridgeport is where forward prospects go to die. Man, Thompson sucks. Brian B. saying, you could throw a pair of skates on Mr. Potato Head, throw him in front of the net on the Barzal line in the first power play unit, and he'd have 10 goals.
I'm going to tell you, Matt Barzal is the reason why Average has as many goals as he does. He has been so good this year. And how many goals does Barzal have? 9? Right? I think he's got 9. And how many assists? I know he leads us in scoring. That kid is phenomenal. You look at how Boston plays him. They don't worry about anybody else on their team, and they don't have to. 2 or 3 guys are going after Barzal. They're hitting him all the time. Anything they can do to upset Barzal. You don't see anybody trying to take out Josh Bailey. Well, who cares? All he's going to do is skate up and down and pass the puck to somebody else. They don't even have to worry. They can play 2 men down if Josh Bailey's on the ice. Doesn't matter. He's never going to shoot the puck. He'd be standing. His thing, he could stand in Average's position, and he'd never shoot the puck. So I'm going to give Average credit for that. At least he tries to score. Bailey doesn't. Just stand. It's nothing. He's nothing. You know, they said, I just love it when Butch says, well, you know, we need to get these guys, need to get more in front of the net. You know, who the heck was he talking about? I know he's talking about Del Cole, but somebody else needs to go more in front of the net. How about you talk about Josh Bailey? He's like, he breaks out in a rash as soon as he gets in the offensive zone. He's afraid of the net.
As soon as he starts approaching the net or thinking about shooting, he breaks out in a rash. Oh, goodness. Yeah, Matt Barzal does have 9 goals, just to confirm that there for you.
I mean, yeah. And he doesn't have any empty netters either, not like Average does.
David C. also saying, Grump, could you please take over as Bridgeport head coach?
They should have something GM for a day for Bridgeport. I'll tell you what, Chris Lamoriello, go back to Daddy's house. You be gone. Thompson, you're gone. Casper, just go play out in traffic. I don't want you here anymore.
Oh, God.
Some guys who can actually produce. All you old guys, what's your age? 28, 29? You have no shot. Gone. Bring me some young kids, some hungry young kids. That's what we need down here. We want some energy. We don't want a bunch of geezers. We don't want the New York Islanders, the oldest team in the league version down here in Bridgeport. What does that prove? They don't win any games.
The oldest AHL team assembled. No, I'm just giving a hard time. Okay.
Charlestown Chiefs, bring in the Hanson brothers.
You're hating so much on Simon Holmstrom. Again, you have picked. I really hope he's a 30-goal scorer one time in his career, Grumpy.
Josh Bailey. It'd be nice if he'd be a 20-goal scorer one time in his career.
Got a comment here from Scott L. saying, what is up with Varlamov losing his footing?
I got it down here, too. What the hell? What the heck is this tumbling routine from him the last couple of games?
I will tell you, it was not pretty when he fell like that. I can tell you one thing that was absolutely excellent, though, about him, Grump. And for everybody, again, this is why it's always good to watch there at the YouTube or watch it live.
Luck. I know what you're talking about. It was luck. Anytime you throw your stick in front and it hits it, it's luck. It's luck. I mean, I'm glad he did it, but it's luck. I mean, he didn't say, "Oh, there it goes." He threw the stick out there and hoped it would hit it. That was luck. I want to show us the one where he's tumbling around and is 40 foot out of the net when that goal goes in. I'm like, what the? I'm like, I thought it was bad enough with Cindy Crosby, and then I see the guy from the point. I'm like, how did that score? Oh, there's Varlamov, I don't know, 8 foot out of position.
Here, okay, you talk about how this is luck. You know what? A lot of the all-time great spectacular saves, you could all count that up to luck then too, right? I mean, Dominic Hasek, where he falls down to the ground and throws his arm out there and makes that iconic stop there with his glove. I mean, if the guy gets the puck up at all, it's an easy goal, right? You would call that one luck too. I'm just saying, it's a good save. It's a good save. Give him credit. Come on.
Okay. When you're a 7-time Vezina Trophy winning goaltender, you get the benefit of the doubt. When you're a guy who tumbles around out there because you can't stay on your feet, you don't get the benefit of the doubt. Let me just put it to you that way. I'll make it. That's luck. It was luck. I'm glad he made the save. It was luck.
It was a good save. I just want you to say it was a good save. I want you to even say hell of a save.
It was a good save, but it was lucky. I mean, let's be honest, right? It's not like, hey, I practiced those throwing the stick out there. No. You know what? Maybe you should practice being able to stand on your feet.
I think that's one of the things he's been practicing because he's been falling so often. He imagines himself looking at the actual net and throwing his stick to try to block shots. So I'm glad to see that the practice has paid off in that particular instant, though, Grumpy.
You know what? I didn't see Keanu Reeves tumbling around like that when he played the goalie in Youngblood. I never saw that.
Got a comment here from David Cielsa saying, Grump dressed in all black, trying to be Will Smith's sidekick in Men in Black 4.
Actually, David, I'm walking the line. I'm a man in black. That's Johnny Cash.
Now, did you happen to see, was the newest Men in Black, was that the third one that just came? Did it come out recently in theaters? I'm trying to think. I think I fell asleep in Men in Black 3. I think they had changed the Men in Black, like the actual, oh, no?
No, Men in Black 3 was actually pretty good. I thought it was better than 2. That was the one where you saw the origin of how Tommy Lee Jones came to look after Will Smith. I thought that was actually pretty good. The fourth one was Men in Black International.
That's the one I fell asleep during. That okay, that's the one I was looking at. That's the one I fell asleep during.
Yeah, that was not good. Chris Hemsworth, and the girl who was also in the Thor movie, Thor Ragnarok.
Tessa Thompson.
Tessa Thompson, I think maybe her name is.
Yeah, I just said Tessa Thompson.
Yeah, I think she's good. I find her very appealing, but they were not good in that movie. And I think Chris Hemsworth is great as Thor. Fantastic.
Brian P. saying, right on the money, Grump. I say it all the time. The freaking butterfly. They go down and they're cheating pad blocks, the 5-hole, and the glove is so big and so is his blocker.
If anyone ever gets a chance, pull up some old YouTube videos about hockey in the 80s or whatever, and look at the size of the goaltender's equipment. I mean, it's absolutely huge. It's absolutely. Now, here's the thing. The sticks today are way better than the sticks they use. I mean, they used to use just wood sticks, not the graphite stuff they use now. I mean, they can really get that shot whipping, but I mean, it was just a different game back then. It was a better game. It was more physical. Wimps need not apply. I'm sorry.
Grump, is that Grump? Is that Lou Lamoriello texting you?
No, that's not me. That's my wife's phone is getting blown up. I don't know why.
Lou Lamoriello, what is he texting your wife?
Believe me, he ain't texting my wife.
I didn't know if he was trying to work like a long-term play to try to convince the grumpy old. Jeez, man, oh man, Grumpy. She's trying to go ahead. Is he trying to go ahead and recruit you to be Bridgeport head coach? Is that what that is?
Maybe I've been notified that I'm going to be GM for a day, and we'll send Chris home to his daddy.
And he didn't like that comment. That's maybe what it could have been.
Whenever I talk mean about loose kids, we get a whole lot of those pings.
I did notice that. We got our visitor there.
Podcast. Very nice.
A little cat. Yep. And Will S saying, finally getting fans in the building. How is that going to affect the team? I think like for Never Lose, we have played extremely well with home ice advantage. I think this only bodes well for the home ice advantage also.
I don't think it can make us play any worse, any better at home. I mean, any better at home, honestly. We're 10-0-2 at home. I mean, you're not going to get much better than that. So as soon as we lose a game or two, I'm going to say all the fans out of the building. You're banished.
And then what a film saying, look at the bright side. It looks like AJ just came off the ice. Oh, goodness gracious. And then Scott L trying to help me out. TJ, it's pronounced Athanasiu. I honestly, again, that's one of those names. I sound like Butch, I'm sure, when I'm pronouncing his name, like Sorokin or whatever other names he manages a way to butcher. Again, like I got certain names. This name, for whatever reason, gives me a tough time.
What a shock.
Oh, goodness. Got a comment also from Brian P. It's a long one, Grump here, so buckle in. I should be the head of the rules committee with shin pads go down to 9 inches and they come off the knee. The blocker should have an inch or two taken off all the way around, and the glove would be smaller. Then I'd like a long change in the first and the third instead of the second. The general managers should be the ones with the ones who make the rules.
Should not be the ones who make the rules. You have to grow the game. And offense does that, not the Michelin Man structure. You got to be passion, sunshine.
Thank you, grumpy old man. Sorry, I've gotten distracted there. I've gotten distracted here, Grump. But I'll tell you one thing. I think they went ahead and actually they shortened up the pads a few years ago, didn't they?
They cut down the size of their shoulder pads. Garth Snow had the biggest set of pads in the league. They did. They wound up cutting those down a little bit. Not enough to really make a difference, honestly. But they did try that. And that's the thing. The league wants to promote offense. They absolutely do. Like I said, the butterfly style that's the biggest change in hockey over the last 50 years. That and the stick technology. Those are the two biggest changes.
I'll tell you, it's funny. You talk about the stick technology. I remember growing up as a kid, they're still for the most part, wooden sticks. And just like as of recent, like in the last 15 some odd years, 15, 20 years, it's like everybody's using the bendy stick. You know what I mean? They're using all the composite sticks. And like as a kid, you always thought, oh, wow, those are really cool. But yeah, that definitely has changed. I mean, where everybody always uses composite now.
Oh, yeah. That's why they break so easy, too.
Yeah. For certain. And we got a comment here. David C. saying, Grump, did you see the video of AJ and Shannon playing hockey in the studio? Major finger and electric.
I don't know how she does it. I honestly, I mean, you know how I bag on her sometimes, occasionally, but it's like, why are the camera people not saying something to her? AJ, put a little bit of product in that rat's nest you got up there.
Stop. Okay, I'm cutting you off. No more AJ. No more AJ Collins for today. I'm drawing the line there, Grump.
Hold on. You want to know who I saw on Hockey Night in Canada last week?
Who? Did you see Don Cherry?
No, not Don Cherry. They banished him.
For the comments about the poppies. Yeah, but who did you see?
I saw Jennifer Bottrell.
I was about to say, we haven't seen Jennifer in a long time.
Well, I guess she's doing another job. I mean, she never really fit, and I never thought she did. Okay, AJ made her look really bad. I mean, I'm not saying AJ's the greatest, but Jennifer wasn't as good. That said, I thought she was better. She was doing the in between the second and third period of the second game. Maybe a lot of people weren't watching. I was. But I thought she had really cohesive points that she made, and I thought the way she dressed was better than she did on the Islander broadcast. I'm going to blame the Islanders. I mean, I think they try to – I don't know. They don't try to make any of the people look good, if you know what I mean. It's like, make these people look good. You look at some of the other teams, and you see their people. They're all dressed nice. They all look good. Ours look like a bunch of ragamuffins, pulled out of a box of hammers and just thrown on the set. I don't know.
I can tell you, we speak about announcers that I hate. I cannot stand. Is it Trip Tracy for the Carolina Hurricanes? Oh my God,
he's terrible. Terrible.
We're very, very fortunate with our crew. I'll be honest with you. And again, like as much as we pick on Butch there for messing up names every once in a while and butchering things, pun intended. Man, oh man, could you imagine having to listen to a guy like Trip Tracy on a night in, night out basis? I'd have to watch. I'd have to mute the game. I couldn't listen. It would piss me off that much.
Yeah, John Forsland is his partner, and I think he's really good. actually. I like John Forsland. But Trip Tracy, I think he was a college goalie at Slinky Dog U. I don't know where, but he's been there since their inception, and he's just not very good. He used to look young. Now he looks not good.
Well, I don't even care what they look like. I'll be honest.
I do. You're on television. You should look good. I'm sorry. I mean, how do you think people get jobs in television? They don't put the ugliest people on the planet on these television gigs. They want them to be photogenic. That's how you get on television. They have the old saying, you got a face for radio, kid. It's because you're too ugly to be on television.
Is that the reason why, Grumpy, you're not on television?
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, I'm better looking than Trip Tracy.
Will S. saying Tanner Pearson as a third line option. Is this realistic? Again, the Vancouver Canucks are struggling a little bit. I don't know what we'd have to give up there in return. And Vancouver's one of those teams. I think they would want maybe a young defensive prospect there in the same facet and capacity. So again, like Tanner Pearson, 9 points so far in the season, 5 goals, 4 assists. You talk about bringing a little bit more offensive touch. He definitely would bring more offensive touch than Michael Del Cole and Leo Komarov.
Do we have any points from that third line wing spot this year? I think Del Cole scored his 2 points when he was on the second line. Does Komarov have any points? Did Bellows have any points from that line?
Well, I know Leo Komarov has points, but I'm not sure if 5-on-5 points.
It's like the black hole of production, that line. Here's the thing. You can get away with being ugly on television if you got personality. But I don't think people want to hire people with personality anymore. They just don't. They don't want anybody who has an opinion. We don't want to offend anyone. Don't have an opinion.
Everything is so corporate these days.
Think about NBC Sports Network, right? Have you watched any of their They're boring. They're boring. I mean, Patrick Sharp, good-looking guy, really good-looking.
I enjoy Patrick Sharp in between. I certainly enjoy him in between periods. You talk about a guy who knows the games in and outs, who's he's a very, very good speaker too. I like Patrick Sharp.
Can you tell me you like him better? Would you watch him more, or would you watch Milbury or Roenick? Milbury.
I liked Roenick though too. The thing is, like, I never disliked. I hated Milbury. And Milbury had the effect where he was almost like a Skip Bayless. Everything he said, I'm just like, no. Very rarely did I ever agree with Mike Milbury. And again, it makes for Skip Bayless just signed a huge contract to be a guy who has those hot takes that are just like, oh man, I don't agree with you, but he's so steadfast in his beliefs, it's easy to hate on. So again, like in that capacity, sure, I'd enjoy watching. Grump, is that what you're saying you are?
I could be Skip Bayless easily. I know more about sports than he knows. I've forgotten more about sports than he ever knew. But Mike Milbury, right? You said I loved him in that role. I didn't like him doing games, but I loved him in that studio role. I mean, you know what? That's what you paid him to be bombastic. That's what you paid him for. And then the same thing with Roenick. You're paying those guys to bring a little bit of light, because to me the show is boring now. It's just, whoa. It's not fun to watch. I turned off the intermissions. I used to watch them. I can't anymore. They're boring. And I like Patrick Sharp, and he has some points to make, but they just, well, if you make the pass like that, oh, come on. It's like listening to TJ talk the whole time. You're better than you used to be, TJ. You're better. And here's the thing. All kidding aside, without TJ, there would be no podcast. I'm just
That is true, Grumpy. I'm not sure you can handle the logistics portion, so I serve a very limited role here. David C. saying, Grump, if the Rags lose the next 2 games to Boston, does College Quinn get the axe? What do you call him? College boy or young boy?
College boy, Joe College, whatever. Rah-rah, sis-boom, bob boy.
Rah-rah, sis-boom, bob. Does Rah-rah, sis-boom, bob get the axe?
His College Quinn is a good one. The 2 hard C sounds, I like it. I don't think he's going anywhere because they're not I think even they know that they're not going anywhere this year. I think they will get I just don't think he's cut out for the NHL. I think they will have a new coach next year, though. So will Buffalo.
Ansa Thieu, hopefully I got it right that time, cost $1.5 million a year, and he scored 30 goals 2 years ago, only because the cap numbers, he didn't make a bigger splash. And again, like you talk about, I don't know what the price tag is on him. I'd have to assume he would be a guy you're going to have to pay a little bit there.
one thing that everyone has to remember, that to play on the Islanders, you're going to have to, no matter how many points you have somewhere else, you're going to have to subjugate your offensive game to play defense. And so these guys might be putting up points. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't acquire somebody, because I definitely believe we need someone. I just think higher up we need someone. But if you have a guy who scored 10 goals, I wouldn't come in here and expect him to score more than 5 just because of the way we play.
I think, and that's why I think maybe like a Brett Conley or a guy who is familiar with the Barry Trotz system, I think he would feel more comfortable with trying to acquire somebody who has played for him in the past. Because again, like we haven't seen an issue with anybody having like the buy-in problem on the Islanders. So, you'd like to think that everybody who comes in is going to buy in completely, like, hey, I've got to change my game style up a little bit. I can't be, as heavy on the forecheck. I need to be more conservative there. I need to focus a little bit more on defense, transition game, etc. I think they'll buy in. But I think, just in the terms of trying to make it more of a rapid process where it's a seamless transition, I think somebody who has played for Barry Trotz in the past would be something they're looking at.
Well, you know what? I'm open to that. I'm open to anything. I'd rather shoot higher. That's what I want to do. Shoot somebody who could play on the first line and then let everybody trickle down.
Gotcha. Got a few comments here. David C. saying, we used to dominate in overtime the last 2 seasons. Since lackluster Lou traded Taves, we stink in overtime. And again, that game technically came in shootout, not actually the overtime time period.
Right, but think about it. What did Taves bring? He had that speed, whereas even if we made a mistake, he was able to get back and make a play. That's what we miss. I mean, you got Letty out there. He's kind of helter-skelter. You never know what you get. You get average. He's a waste. You get Bailey. He sucks.
In overtime, he's not a guy I really want on the ice. If we can avoid it, I would.
Yeah, I mean, but he's going to roll the same guys out there regardless.
On our team, we're not a team who has unbelievable speed, though. You know what I mean? I guess I'm thinking about it. Who else would be somebody that you say, yeah, let's roll this? We're not a speedy team.
That's because we don't believe in going after high-end talent. We go after grinders instead. That's what happens when you got a bunch of overage grinders. You're going to struggle in those situations. 3-on-3 is not good for us.
I'm happy that's not how playoffs look. Michael M. The sweet voice of Grumpy and TJ. Hey Grumpy, how awful was Leo against the Bruins? Guy on the very first shift has a turnover and gets stuck in his own zone. Why do we change what works? I mean, honestly, the only thing I can think of is the fact that he has that history with Brad Marchand, and that maybe they're just going to dress him every single game against the Bruins the rest of the year.
Why not dress Ross Johnston instead? You think Brad Marchand would have done that crap with Oliver Wahlstrom if Ross Johnston was out there on that line? I am going to guarantee you he goes and slinks back to the bench where he belongs.
Could you imagine all hell breaking loose as he was on top of Oliver Wahlstrom pounding? What would Ross Johnston have done when he saw his player just got jumped there from behind on the ground and get punched?
There'd be a little yellow and black spot on the ice where he got absolutely annihilated by Ross Johnston. And I would have loved it. I'd love to see him get absolutely annihilated. I hate Marchand. I hate Marchand for different reasons than I hate Josh Bailey, though.
Ross N is saying, when I was involved in the AHL, refs do talk between periods. There is a ref supervisor who talks to them like a coach in between periods. Yeah, I was about to say. So I used to coach, or I thought, correction, I again, like, played football at a high level. I thought about reffing football in a certain capacity. I wound up backing out. It's like, it's different kind of having the mindset of a referee. I was seriously wondering, when they're in that process, if the guy makes a questionable call, you don't want to step on his feet. You want him to feel like, okay, I can make calls out there on the ice. You don't want him to have him like out there. He's like, I'm just existing. I can't do anything. I'm going to feel timid and tepid because I'm out here with a guy who's probably an idol for that referee who only coach or only ref their 14 games in NHL. I guarantee you McCauley's an idol to him.
I'm going to say, TJ, since I know you pretty well, that I say you're the type of guy who struggles with authority. And you wouldn't like somebody coming in between periods and telling you how things are supposed to be done if you thought you were right. I'm just going to guarantee you that was the case.
I'm not a guy who ever likes being told what to do. So. And then Ross also is saying, just wait, TJ, you will be one of us. I'm not sure what that means. Okay, fair enough. Oh goodness, grumpy old man. Who breaks up shite. Oh, okay, gotcha. Michael M saying also refs belong off the ice. They just get in the way and can't call ish. But 4 guys in the press box and have 1 guy on the ice. Let's get the sport in the 21st century. Oh wow.
Interesting.
I've never thought about anything like that. Think about it. Hockey is one of the few sports, I mean, like with soccer, that have the actual players on the actual surface. Like NFL, you have, I mean, again, you have 2 guys. Again, the NFL surface is way larger than the NHL surface. You've got the guy in the front, you got the back judge. You don't, I mean, the side judges as well. You don't have as many guys on the actual field, but to have that many guys on the ice, I mean, the ice is a condensed surface. I've never thought about what it would look like if you had more guys up in the box there and only 1 guy on the actual ice.
You have to be careful. There's a fine line between having, and I bring this up because I heard today that the NFL is thinking about doing more like a sky judge thing, like they had in the that football league, that American League of Football.
It was called the XFL.
No. It was something AAFC. It was just there. It lasted like 6 or 8 weeks last year, and they had a sky judge. The thing you have to worry about is if you over officiate everything, it makes the product not watchable, and that's the fine line that you have to really look at. That's all I'll say about that.
The All American Football Conference, is that what it was? I don't know. No, this is okay. No. This was ceased in 1949. I think it was the XFL, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, the XFL was a failed Vince McMahon experiment.
No, they brought the XFL was there, and it was there last season, and COVID went ahead and derailed it.
Yeah, but I think that was also owned by Vince McMahon, but I don't think it was the XFL. I think it was the AAFC. Again, the old All American Football Conference. That was back in the 40s. And the Cleveland Browns were the dominant team at that time, and they got morphed into them, and the Rams got morphed into the NFL after that. And maybe San Francisco was in there too. They had some of those teams join the NFL when that league went defunct. But last year, I believe it was also the AAFC, also, I believe it was called. XFL was the Extreme Football League where they put nicknames on the backs of the guys' jerseys. Rod Smart was known as You Hate Me or something like that. They tried to make it a at the time, WWF feel to it, but it didn't make it either. I mean, here's the thing. You got the NFL is the monolith. I don't care what you try to do. You're not going to beat them. Not now. I remember the World Football League. That was in the 1970s. They signed a lot of guys from the NFL to futures contracts, and that lasted, I think, 3 or 4 years before it went out. I mean, it just kind of is what it is at this point in time. The NFL is the big daddy. They're so big that it's going to be tough for anybody else to break in.
We got a few comments here, Grump. I'm just moving along here. David C. saying Thompson is a bum. I want Grumpy to be the main on Adventure Bridgeport. Scott L. saying TJ Thompson cannot develop forwards for certain. He can't. Brian P. is also saying Koivu played well in Finland this year, but Bridgeport is where forwards go to die.
Can I ask, why would you not bring in a coach just for forwards, just to work with forwards? I mean, maybe they have one, but if he does, he's not doing the job.
I assume an assistant probably takes more of like the defensive role, and one takes more of like the forward role. So you have to figure it's not a conglomeration, but like with the assistants, I'm sure they have designated roles down there in Bridgeport.
But whoever's working with the forwards isn't doing his job. Get rid of him. I mean, bring in somebody else. I mean, we need to find ways to score. I'm gonna tell you what. This fan base is so loyal that people really don't want to rip the Islanders. They don't. I don't think, first of all, they don't get the media coverage they deserve. And, there should be a more vocal group of fans who say, hey, we demand more scoring, Fossil, Armadillo. Let's put some pucks in the net. We need better talent.
They're just so happy. I think I wanted to say that they don't want to rip them. I think they're just so – this is the best the Islanders have been in 2 decades. really, Grump. This is the best we've been in. I mean, like if you look at the stretch that we're going to be on and the way the trajectory looks, this is the best we've been in more than 2 decades for an extended time period. That's why people don't want to rip it. This is the best they've seen in 2 decades, 20 years.
And see, that's why a lot of people don't see where I'm coming from, because I remember when we were really good. I mean, where the object was to win. It wasn't about, and we do anything to win. And that's the way that Bill Torrey was. If we needed that piece at the deadline, we went out and got him.
And then Ross N saying Grumpy is wrong on Lee. And you call
I was like Ross for a while, not no more. Sorry.
Oh goodness. Oh goodness gracious. And then David C saying, TJ, did you get a sponsor for the fire hydrant yet? We're going to be pimping out the fire hydrant. Unfortunately, the items I ordered there to make sure it looked more Islanders geared has taken over a month to ship, but we've got some decorative pieces coming there.
House subs.
Was that Firehouse subs?
Subs.
Oh gosh. Would a film saying, Grumpy Old Man, you're right about goaltending. I played in the 70s and the 80s, and it's a whole different game now. I think Sorokin will hoist the Stanley Cup with the Islanders. I'll tell you, he looks impressive. Biggest thing is rebound control.
Yep, without a doubt. But he makes saves that Varlamov can't make. His positioning is really – it's – okay, you think about the first couple of games, he was a little off in his positioning. You just see him getting better every time out. It's just getting used to the ice surface, and he'll get there. And you're right, the rebound control is still a concern.
Brian P is saying a Komarov's $12 million because he's good in the room.
Yeah. I was stunned when they signed it. I'm like, what? I still don't understand it. He's probably going to get re-upped in a couple of years.
David C says, TJ, can my Isles Misery Facebook group sponsor your fire hydrant? If you want to throw a sticker on there, I'm willing to take any type of stickers, Islanders related. That would be fun there for certain. Yeah, okay, that's right. Yep, and we're getting a whole bunch of those in. Yes, Leo was.
Looked like one of those giraffes. I'm like, what the heck are you doing? I didn't understand that. I never understood why he was doing that, trying to get somebody fired up. Like I said, in the old days, you do some crap like that, you go ahead, you'll be working at Tim Hortons next week. When you got out of the league.
Yeah. I mean, like that was a while ago. It wasn't just one player he licked too. It was more than one, wasn't it? It was Leo and somebody else. Okay.
He was a chronic licker. Sounds like a sex crime, honestly.
I'm sure Leo didn't want to get licked right there, so definitely harassment. Gotcha. David C saying also, Kleberg found the fountain of youth lately. Getting used to playing with his JPP 3-finger hand grump.
Yeah, think about Jason Pierre-Paul, right? I mean, how dumb. I mean, all right, he won the Super Bowl last year, and he's obviously still been able to play. But you think he regrets playing? Hey, kids, don't play with fireworks. I mean,
well, he was drunk and he was shooting them off, but he had his kid in one hand and a firework in the other. But it's one of those things where it's like man on man, fireworks like that. Oh, you hate to see it. Jason Pierre-Paul, still a hell of a defensive end. I mean, like, it's unfortunate though he blew a few fingers off.
And Clutterbuck has been playing better lately. Yeah,
for certain he has. Gotcha. David C. Now this is for you, Grump. Or it says, TJ, any line with Casper isn't a first line.
Thank you very much, David.
We got it. We've got a request, Grump. Fly me to the moon.
Fly me to the moon and let me pray among the stars.
Oh goodness, I love it. He also says Andy Green has turned his season around, Grump. I give Dobson the credit. Agree?
Yes, I think Dobson. I think you can see Dobson if you watch him. Even if he loses the puck, he's so subtle. And he has such good stick skills. He's able to get that puck back even after he's lost it and make a play up the boards. It's so I enjoy watching him so much. I can't even tell you. And he just turned 21. The sky's the limit for that kid. He reminds me of Larry Robinson. And again, I'm not going to say he's Larry Robinson, but I'm not like TJ. I'm not going to say he's Larry Robinson or Connor McDavid. He might be Connor McDonald, but not Connor McDavid. But just how smooth he is back there in the defensive zone and how he's able to make those plays, make the right decisions. Very, very pleased with his progress.
I was going to say, Colin McDonald used to be an old Islander, right, Grump?
He was.
Okay. I was about to say, like, if I'm taking this back far enough, I think it is. Scott L. also saying Casper Holmstrom is too worried about making mattresses with the company Casper Mattress and is not worried about hockey.
Well, I'm going to say if Casper doesn't watch it, we might be going to the mattresses.
Oh, gosh. He also saying here, David C. saying, TJ, we're doing a play-by-play with Grumpy as the color commentator for the game. That is must-watch TV record ratings. I could tell you one thing. If we do it, it's going to be to where it's not on a podcast. You have to watch it live.
It cannot be on the podcast. It absolutely could not be on a podcast.
I was about to say, I think you're going to let too many obscenities go. We try to keep
this. It would
this
be colorful. I will say it would be colorful.
I'm worried.
I really control myself when I'm here. I am very controlled here.
Think about that. People who listen to the podcast and the live stream. Grumpy Old Man controls himself on the podcast.
I do. Bailey, my God, I was screaming at Bailey. I mean, his thing, he didn't play that. He was Bailey last night. He was what he was. But it's like, God, he just does some things that just infuriate me.
Oh, yeah, but I've seen more of those. When we're going to do a live game, TJ, that's a must watch. I don't know. I want to do it to where if we do one, it's during the regular season. So, like, maybe if we're going to try
playoffs. It cannot be playoffs.
I want to do one in the playoffs, but I don't want that to be the first one.
I don't want it to be a Philadelphia game. I don't want it to be a Philadelphia game.
It makes me want it to be a Philadelphia game. If that's going to be a more hyperbolic reaction from you, Grumpy.
I'm irrational when I watch the games. I am.
I feel like you're one of those people who's not going to be sitting on a seat. You're going to be moving around and standing and like walking around. So we're not going to see you very often on camera. We're just going to hear you yelling.
Yeah, I would set it up in a different area. I move around a lot when I watch games.
David C. also saying we need to slap a biohazard sticker on a fire hydrant. And any type of sticker someone wants to send me, I'll slap on it. I have no problem at all. Yep. And it's funny. We had talked and mentioned about this. TJ and Grump, thoughts on ESPN and getting the broadcast rights to the NHL. We had talked about this before the podcast. We were going over our game plan, what we wanted to mention. We didn't have a chance to mention it yet. Grump, initial take there. ESPN getting the broadcasting rights there to the NHL. I think it's for 7 years, correct?
Yeah, 7 years. And it's not a full-time deal with ESPN, ABC, Disney. They are going to get the Stanley Cup Finals for 7 years. So they had to pay for that. The NHL needed a big cash deal. I don't know how much. I don't think all the details were out when we spoke about it earlier today. The thing that I worry about is I heard that 75 games a year are going to be only on ESPN Plus, which if you don't live in the New York area and you have DirecTV like I do, are those games that I'm not going to be able to watch?
No, I don't have ESPN Plus. That's how I watch all of my sports. I watch ESPN Plus there. You pick your cable provider. I stream all my games, Grump. So you're able to watch it like that. ESPN Plus would not affect you. You just have to stream it.
I'm going to tell you what. If I have a problem, I'm going to come over there and kick your butt right off the planet because I don't want to miss any games just because I'm listening to you.
No, you're not going to have an issue with ESPN Plus. Here we go. Joe F. saying, I came in late. Did you guys talk about the ESPN contract? Think about it, right? This is the last time when was the last time we had the contract, the NHL, the contract with ESPN, Grumpy? Before lockout, correct? Before the first
20
lockout.
Years ago. 15, 20 years ago? Barry Melrose was their lead guy. I mean, think about it. That has to be 20 years ago. At least 20 years ago.
I think it was before the first lockout. Was the first lockout in 07, 08, correct?
You know what? I can't even tell you. It was eons ago. And I'll tell you what, they had good coverage of the NHL. And frustrating. I mean, because I get the NHL package, so that's why I get to watch all the games. I don't want to see some of them blacked out because, of some ridiculous thing. That's all. I like to just hit my channels and watch my shows. None of this fancy dancy stuff.
Joseph M. We were talking about Trip Tracy. I hate the Capitals announcers. I'm glad I do not have to watch any of the Capitals announcers there. I have watched Trip Tracy a few times. I don't think I've watched too many of the Watching the Capitals broadcast there.
I can't watch their broadcasts. I'll put on the other team. They're unlistenable. They are.
David C. also saying Burke will replace Rosen when he retires. Another Islanders bolts for the Rags.
I tell you what, I think he's really good. But I think Brendan's a really good announcer. I like him.
I really like Brendan too. Met him in person. Real nice guy too.
I never thought Howie Rose was that good, even when he did our games. I don't know, but I think Brendan's real good.
For certain, he is. And then Scott L saying, imagine having to listen to Sam Rosen all season. I know Sam's a good, but man, is he annoying.
I tell you what, I like Sam Rosen. Before him was Jim Gordon with the big whistle, Bill Chadwick, and I thought they were really good. And, Sam, I identify Sam with hockey, so I don't have a problem with him at all. I like his delivery, actually.
The funniest thing is I was watching, somebody had posted something on social media, Grumpy, about the old intro to the MSG Islander games. It was dun 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 dun, dun and it was like back in like back like 5-10, or I guess it was more like 5 to 7 years ago. And I thought to myself, you hear Shannon immediately pop on. I'm just like, oh wow, that's right. It's when you watch the games year over year, you forget how long the broadcast crew has been a part of the Islanders broadcast network. So it's like, oh yeah, that's right. Shannon was still here more than like 5 years ago. You know what I mean? Everything kind of gets mushed together.
And your point, are you trying to say that you're getting old and you can't believe it? Believe me, if you think that you're getting old, these people have been doing it a long time. I was around and Shannon wasn't even born yet. So that makes me feel really good.
Brian P. saying, TJ, I know you're a little young, so let me tell you about the wonderful 1992-93 season. 20 players reached 100 points, and 14 guys scored 50 or more goals. Pierre Turgeon on the Islanders was the 8th in scoring with 131 points and 58 goals. What a glorious time!
Oh man, that was a magical season. That was a magical season. I wish it never would have ended.
I'll tell you.
Hunter.
Dale Hunter. Yeah, it's unfortunate. We're never going to see numbers like that. At least I don't think, unless they make like a drastic change there to, the pads of goalies or, increase the size of the net, which I don't ever see happening. I mean, they've always been pushing for more and more goals. And that was the intention behind the trapezoid and everything like that too. I don't think we're ever going to see scoring like that.
You might see Connor McDavid put up numbers like that, but that's about it. Maybe him and Draisaitl if they play together. They have tremendous chemistry. But you're right. For the most part, you're not going to see that again.
I look back through sometimes about Wayne Gretzky's stats and how many points he put up, just, for fun. And I look back over at me because the guy, he had more assists than any other, the second highest player had in total points. I mean, the guy put up amassed an unbelievable amount of points this season. And I thought to myself, how many points realistically do you think Wayne Gretzky would put up in today's game? I still think he'd be by far the best player in hockey, but I realistically think to myself, would you see him putting up 200 plus points in a season like he did back during the prime of his career?
I think Mario was a better player than Wayne Gretzky. I just think he was. Here's the thing: in this day and age, those guys would be so much better because they're calling the ticky-tack fouls, which they never used to call.
Most ticky-tack penalties, yeah.
Yeah. You got to remember, look at who Gretzky played with. Yari Curry, Paul Anderson, Mark Messier, Paul Coffey. These are all Hall of Famers. I mean, that Edmonton team was absolutely freaking loaded. I mean, and then Mario in his later years when he had Ron Francis and Yager, and Barrasso was in goal, and you had Samuelson in defense, man, and Kevin Stevens. I mean, they were fantastic talents. The game was different back then. But I will tell you, if they that's why Mario initially quit. Was everybody was holding and cheating and hacking at him, and then he had the cancer, and he come back from that.
Yeah.
I think those guys would easily score over 100 points a year. Maybe even 140. That's how talented they were. And you got to remember, Mario was big too. He wasn't like a little guy. He was a huge guy.
Well, Mario was like 6'2", 6'3".
He scored on his first shift in the NHL against Boston. Harbinger of things to come, I guess, right?
Yeah. I'll tell you that much. Jim P is saying bring back Gary Thorne on ESPN.
Gary Thorne was good. I think he does Boston Red Sox baseball games now, or maybe Baltimore. Maybe he does Baltimore Orioles baseball games. He was good. I like him too. He was another guy I always identify with hockey. Without that.
Scott L is saying Ricard Raquel is on the trade rumor board. His AAV is about 3.8 million for this year and next year. He's an unrestricted free agent in 2022-23. Should Lou take a shot at getting him? What do you think we would have to give up to get him? Grump, just go ahead and give you a little update on Ricard Raquel's here. Points for the season, 26 games played, 6 goals, 13 assists, 19 points total. Again, now Raquel has put up points there in the past. I guess most notably there in 2017-18, 69 points there with the Anaheim Ducks.
Is he still with the Ducks?
Still with the Ducks.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good player, but again, you're looking at how much money he makes. How are you going to add him to your team? Who are you going to have to get rid of?
You would have to find a way to dump cap, and you'd have. Raquel, I tell you, he's gonna. If he were to be traded, because he's relatively on a reasonable deal for what he brings in, offensive production, especially if you're a team that's looking to make a playoff push like that, you've got cost certainty with him for at least another year or two. So it's not like he's just purely a rental. He's going to be more expensive if he gets traded and moved. I'm not sure what it would cost, but he'd be a more expensive asset. And the Islanders would have to clear up space too preemptively to bring him over.
Right. See, I don't think they would do anything to break up the first 2 lines or the 4th line to pick anybody up. I just don't feel that. And in that case, how are you going to get rid of that money? I mean, we need to stop falling in love with these older players and just say, you know what, for the good of the team going future, and I'm going to mention again with the expansion draft, you want to get rid of an older player who's making a lot of money if you can. Even if you have to give up draft capital, you want to do that so it can free you up to sign. I mean, this is a team that's built to win now, right? We're an older team. We're built to win now. So you need to do everything you can to maximize that window for as long as you can.
Yep. And again, you've got guys like Pelech you have to sign back this year. You've got guys like Sorokin you have to sign back this year, as well as Beauvillier. So those are 3 big pieces long term you got to sign back. Brian P. saying, I do not like the Islanders radio team. King is and Greg Picard is a college intern nerd. They felt sorry for and gave him a job. Every other team has a former player doing the color commentary. We have Picard.
Yeah, I don't listen to the radio show, but I've heard it's terrible.
Yep, I don't listen either. Will S. saying, I could listen to Grump rip Bailey all day, the king of the secondary assist. See, Grumpy, when you get comments adoring the way you go ahead and rip Josh Bailey. I showed those too, Grump.
Let me tell you something. You look at some of these sites on the internet or some of these little mamby-pamby people, they want to keep on selling Josh Bailey. Oh, he's this. Oh, he's that. If I have to hear again how smart Josh Bailey is, I don't care how smart you are. I mean, if you want to be a mathematician, that's fine. You chose to play hockey. Produce more. That's what you're here for.
And David C. saying Picard's dad got him the job. He was with the organization behind the scenes for like 20 years. Kid looks like Hootie Doody. Howdy Doody.
Howdy Doody. Oh, geez.
That's not a term I use very often. Howdy Doody.
Okay. Buffalo Bob Smith. It was the 1950s. And he had a television show. It's howdy doody time. It's howdy do. And he used to be like a little puppet, a little marionette, whatever he was. And yeah, it was howdy doody, and he had little cheeks. It was black and white, but I still remember it. So, oh God.
Sorry, I don't know who howdy doody is there, Grump.
Look it up.
Oh goodness gracious. What a Film's also saying Beauvillier is quick and he enters the zone well. They need to let him play a more hard-charging offensive game and open them up. That's
since that line has started that it's not a coincidence that line has started to produce more since he came back from injury. He started off slow, the line was invisible. He comes back and he starts playing well. All of a sudden, the line is rejuvenated. He drives that line. I'm not saying that we all know that Bailey's a human sidecar, but he helps Nelson's game. Just like when he played, Josh Hosang helped. He and Brock Nelson had great chemistry as well. I never understood why they didn't give him a chance to play with him. But Pavillier serves that same purpose. And like I said, the king of the secondary assist, the human sidecar, call him whatever you want. Hopefully you'll be calling him a member of the Seattle Kraken next year.
Oh, gosh. Frank K saying Varley has made people forget Leonard quickly since the RTP. I'm not sure what the abbreviation means. But yeah, Robin Leonard's stats this year, grumpy old man, not great. Not good at all.
Okay. I like Robin Leonard. A good story. I always felt he was a product of the system. I feel the same way about Varlamov. I feel the same way about Grice. These guys, the defensive system that Barry Trotz has put in place makes goalies look better than they really are. And that's why I like Sorokin. I think, like I said, you can tell that he can make saves that Varlamov won't, and he's just going to get better with time. But I think for a backup goalie, you can use pretty much anybody. Oh, what is this?
Grumpy, here you go. This is I'm showing you here the stats that for Robin Leonard talking about. I mean, for Vegas, when he signed that extension, I had to assume that he was going to be the guy. I mean, goals against average of a 2.96, save percentage of an 8.90, not off to a good start. He's only started in 5 games, not off to a good start there for the Vegas Golden Knights. That's for certain.
Well, I got to say that Marc-Andre Fleury must be doing the job because they're really good this year, Vegas.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Grumpy. It's just one of those things. I always like Robin Leonard. The story always obviously gets a little bit more push there because that hits the heartstrings of the Islanders, especially when he's at that time period of his life. I will tell you this: he always had the rep, and remember, even back when he was with before he got traded there to Buffalo with the Ottawa Senators, he was a guy that had the pedigree, and I think he definitely did help from the system. But I mean, Marc-Andre Fleury has been unbelievably hot this year. And that's another guy who gets unfair criticism, in my opinion, is Marc-Andre Fleury. I mean, you look at the stats this year, Grump, unbelievable production from Marc-Andre Fleury.
He's underappreciated for certain. I mean, Pittsburgh, when he was in Pittsburgh, they won a Stanley Cup with him. And he made an absolutely spectacular save right at the end of the game to cement I believe it was on Lindstrom for Detroit to win them that cup. And he doesn't get the credit he deserves because he played with, Crosby and Malkin and stuff like that. But he's a really good goalie and he's done well in Vegas. And from what I understand, just a number one person too.
Marc-Andre Fleury leads the NHL in save percentage, goals against, and shutouts recorded so far this season. Holy
and he's 36
crap.
years old. Good for him. Good for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I knew he was playing well. I did not know it was that well, though. Man, oh, man.
Yeah, they're good. They're good.
And karaoke time with Grumpy. I love it. We got a few more comments here. We're wrapping things up here right around the 2-hour mark there. We've got here RTP abbreviated, just so we go ahead and follow that up there. Thank you, someone. I'm not good with the acronyms. Return to play, TJ, is what that means, RTP. Gotcha.
Don't feel bad, TJ. I didn't know what it was either. I don't know anything. I have to spell everything out when I do a text. Laugh out loud. Got it.
Scott L. is saying, Grumpy, why do you hate the Flyers more than the Rangers? Rangers are the interstate rivals and the fans suck. I know why. You've talked about it a few times, Grump, but I want you to regale us because I know you love getting to talk about how much you hate the Flyers.
I hate
the funniest thing is on our podcast network, we had talked a few times with the actual Flyers representatives, Grump, and man, you're mixing it up with them, no doubt.
I don't care. They couldn't hang with me. You know that. I shredded them just like I shred anyone. I don't care. I've always hated the Flyers. They were the dirty. Now, you got to remember, I'm older than most of the people who listen to this podcast. The Rangers, you know what? The Rangers never bothered me. Yeah, their fans are shitty, but I'm going to tell you what. There were Ranger fans where I used to live, but the majority of people were Islander fans, so nobody messed with us Islander fans. I never really hated the Rangers. I don't know why. But the Flyers, they're just such a filthy, dirty team with a bunch of slime balls. The whole city of Philadelphia it's like the toilet bowl of America, honestly. You can just flush everything right down there. I mean, that's how bad they are. Schultz, Kelly, Selesky, DuPont, Barber, Clark, all of them, the Watsons. I mean, Bernie Perrant, he wasn't a bad guy in goal, but, he got blinded. So, all right, I'm not going to say anything bad about Bernie Perrant, but I hate them. I've always hated the Flyers from day one. And I guess it's the age. You start rooting for a team at a certain age. The Rangers were okay, but the Flyers were like the number one team. And they were just so dirty and just so disgusting that I had to hate them. And we had some battles with them back in the day. Oh, my God. Great games. And there were fights every single game at the Coliseum with the Flyers and the Islanders. Every single game at the Spectrum, fights with the Flyers and Islanders. Oh, it was great. That's when hockey was great.
Joe F says ESPN also gets 4 Stanley Cups in that 7-year deal. And David C saying $420 million a season, 2 times more than the NBC was paying. 1 more secondary partner is being picked, either Fox or NBC, per the New York Post.
Well, the NHL needs that money. They really need that money because, I don't feel bad for the owners, but I do in a way because the TV deals never paid them a whole lot, and they're really dependent on attendance and concessions and stuff like that. And it's been a real struggle for them during the pandemic. The NFL, they get away with anything, honestly. Basketball, same thing. They got the big TV deal, baseball too. But the NHL is a little bit different and are really dependent on the fans. That's why, honestly, I like the NHL the best out of all the major sports because it's a fan sport. It's not as corporate as these other ones are, really. So, and if you're a hockey fan, I mean, you're a hockey fan. It's not like, oh, yeah, I'm a part-time hockey fan. No. If you're a hockey fan, if you're an Islander fan, you're an Islander fan.
Absolutely. And David C saying, Sunday show again this weekend, boys. Yes, for certain here, because we are playing the New Jersey Devils on Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. 3 very winnable games that, I mean, you expect that you're going to continue the point streak for at least another 3 games. We expect to see that point streak at a solid 12, right, Grumpy?
Absolutely. I don't know about you. I predicted only losing 2 points on this whole thing, and so far I'm looking pretty good. You only predict us to get 8 points in this stretch.
Yeah, you're sitting pretty right now, Grump. I underpredicted. What can I say? You're not going to see me complain about the production of the Islanders right now. I mean, it was a big test there against the Boston Bruins. It was a closely contested game. Man, oh man, it was tooth and nail. We came out and we prevailed there in overtime. I mean, we're 4-0-0 against the Boston Bruins so far this season, the 4 games we played. And boy, oh boy, do I love that.
Without a doubt.
Gotcha. Got a few more comments here. We're wrapping things up here. Brian P. saying the last ESPN game was Game 7, Calgary and Tampa. That horrible hook and hold and tackle series with no lead changes, and that's why they started changing rules. Just not enough of them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You can't let things go too. And that's the one thing. It always drives me crazy that the playoffs are officiated differently than the regular season. Just call it the same way the whole way through.
Oh, goodness. Brian P. also saying Gretzky wouldn't come close to 200. Look at the shots that beat horrible goalies back then. And he also says Mario is the greatest player I've ever seen. In that 92-93 season, Mario missed 20 games with cancer. It still had 164 points and 62 goals and won the scoring title. Rocket Richard was tied by Mogilny with 76 goals and Teemu Selanne at 76. That's right.
He and Bob Orr, I thought, are the 2 most talented. Gretzky will go down as the greatest. His hockey sense and vision was second to no one. But, man, Mario was just, for a big guy, he could do everything. And Bob Orr was he revolutionized the defense position. That's all. Bobby Orr was fantastic.
For certain. Yeah, people are saying, wow, TJ never heard Howdy Doody. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, gosh. David T. also saying, Butch almost reached triple digits last night with play the chip and chase game. Oh, God. I'm telling you, if you were to drink every single time that were to come up, you'd be hammered underneath the table.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, Butch. Sorry.
Oh, goodness
He's
gracious. Oh, goodness gracious. We got one more comment here. Grump, what's your baseball team? Please tell me the Bronx Bombers.
It's the Yankees. Yeah. But see, now I don't hate the Mets, but I don't hate the Mets. I'm like I said, when I was a kid. Now here's the thing: I remember watching the Yankees, and they had by this time gone into their slumber. It was after Mickey Mantle. I remember Horace Clark and Gene Stick Michael as their double play combination. Ugh, Mel Stottlemyre, always the opening day starter. Geez, I mean, they were bad. They were bad back then, honestly. But then, we had the resurgence when Billy Martin came in there and when George Steinbrenner took over ownership. And to me, the Yankees are built poorly right now, taking a lot of chances on a bunch of injured pitchers. Hopefully it works out. But I don't like teams, even though that's the way the game is played now. It's like home run, walk, strikeout. I like when you're able to get guys on base, able to knock guys in. And that's why I think it's really hurt them in the playoffs, is when you live by the home run, you die by the home run when good pitching comes in. You have to be able to find a way to scratch runs when necessary. But when you got guys like Stanton and Judge and Sanchez, the
list goes on and on with the Yankees for certain here.
Yeah.
Hello, Kat.
A lot of people are saying that the Mets are maybe a dark horse favorite for a World Series championship just because they got Lindor. I don't know. Dodgers look pretty good, and San Diego looks pretty good too.
I'm a Mets fan, so I'm not a fan of the Bronx Bombers. No ill will, though, towards the Yankees. Oh, goodness, grumpy old man. No ill towards the Yankees, though. Got a few more comments here to wrap things up. Frank K., I figure this is a Flyers comment. This will make you happy. Just say 1980s of Flyers fans. That will piss them off.
Bobby Nystrom. Okay, my brother is a Flyers fan. I don't really talk to him much because he's a loser, okay? But here's the thing. He always brings up, well, it was offsides. I'm like, okay, first of all, that goal was not offsides. It was a goal in the second period they missed, but it doesn't matter. The Islanders still would have been up 3-2. We got to remember the Islanders had a 4-2 lead going to that third period, and they kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit and let those slimy, scummy Flyers come back to tie it. And then we went into overtime, and the rest is history. But you got to think if they were only up 3-2 at the end of two, they would have played the game a little bit differently. So I don't care. It doesn't really matter. Bobby Nystrom, that's all you have to say to them to piss them off.
Oh, goodness. Brian P. also saying they'll be looking to get an $800 million between both deals and $550 million from Seattle coming in. That's great for the league, and the cap will go up.
Sooner the better for us.
Well, I mean, like originally before all the pandemic and everything like that hit, they projected that we were going to see at least like a $4 million, $3 to $4 million increase there on the cap. So yeah, with that money deal, with TV deal, as well as with Seattle coming in, it'll be nice to see that coming back there for the owners. You're right; they're completely dependent there on ticket sales as well as concessions. Okay, one more comment here. Speaking about baseball, Grump, I love the steroids era. Hit tons of homers, but they still hit high averages. I'll tell you, I still think everybody does a little bit of something, especially in baseball like that. They're all doing something.
Who cares? I could care less if they use steroids. I love these holier than thou people. Oh, you did steroids. You shouldn't be in a Hall of Fame. What? I mean, who cares? I mean, you know what? You're paid. They're there to entertain you. That was an entertaining period to just say, well, you were cheating. Well, you know what? Everyone was doing it. So if everyone's doing, is it really cheating? I don't know.
I'll tell you one thing. Speaking about the Hall of Fame, free Pete Rose.
And I mean, he wasn't getting in as a manager. I don't think anyone who's ever seen Pete Rose play could ever say that he tried to throw a game. And I know you've never saw him play, DJ. His nickname was Charlie Hustle for a reason. A guy who ran out walks. There was no quit in him. He wanted to win no matter what. He ran over Ray Fosse in an all-star game. I mean, Ray Fosse was a really good catcher for the Cleveland Indians, wound up breaking his collarbone in an all-star game in the 15th inning. Just run him over, barreled him over at the plate, won the game 2-1. And, and Fosse played after that, but he was never the same player. That's the type of drive to win that Pete Rose had.
Gotcha. And David C. chiming in, free shoeless Joe Jackson.
Yep.
All righty. All righty, Grump. We're right at a little over 2 hours. Is there anything you want to say? Predictions against the Devils. What do you got?
3 wins, 6 more points. I'm revising. Instead of saying we're only going to lose 2, I say we're gonna rough on through and win the next 3 games.
Okay, Grumpy, you've got me convinced. I'm going to say 6 points as well. I've gone with an overtime loss in every single scenario. Devils, not a great team. Have to think that we're going to continue those winning ways and the streaks and momentum in the Islanders' favor before we get to the very, very tough in the meat and potatoes part of our schedule. But that is for another time and another podcast. So thank you so much, Grump, for being a part of the podcast here today.
My pleasure.
And thank you so much for everybody listening in to the live stream here and listening to the podcast. Grumpy Old Man and I love when we get to talk and speak a little bit about hockey and NHL and get to interact there with the people who listen to the podcast. So thank you so much. And again, thank you, Grumpy Old Man.